Hello everyone, I am a geek for fun, also known as Alfie, and you sinful mortals are in for a very, very secret, dark treat. And as you might have noticed by the various excited, handsome chap beside me, I'm joined by a new person who is not actually new, because if you remember the world's finest episodes that are on this channel, or if you're one of the few brave souls who listen to New 52 Pickup, you might recognize him. Or if you've ever typed Batman on Twitter, you've probably seen one of his tweets. The one,
Maybe.
the only, Alex.
Hey man, how's it going?
It's going fantastic. What about
Well,
yourself?
pretty good. What an intro, man. Gassing me up all the way. Um,
We've got it. We only bring in the best, the absolute finessed on
that that
Geeks for Fun.
that new 52 pickup. That's a deep cut. That was good days, bro. That was good times.
Always, brother. But yeah, we're not here for just larking around. We're here for business. We're here for very secret things. Our top spies managed to sneak into the Disney film headquarters, and I'm gonna stop that immediately because I'm gonna make I was gonna make a many boffins die joke, but then I realized people are gonna think I'm lying when they say this is the actual script. It is not. This is the actual script. You can get it. Just look in the description. Is the link to the script. This is legit. This is what it's the first draft, not the final draft. I think Making Star Wars has read the final draft and he's done like a summary. He didn't post the full thing, but he did a summary and there's like one or two things that are different. And I imagine things got polished up like dialogue wise, as most scripts do.
Yeah.
But here is the main chunk of the meat of the plot and what the ideas and themes they were going for, which you might have seen from all that wonderful concept art, which there's one up right there. That's BB-8, and then Rey, and then all of that, and then yeah, and I'll be posting that up as we go through. But yeah, I just want to say before we get into this proper, how did you feel when suddenly all this started coming out? Like, but even before the script, just when we got so much information about the concept art of this film.
So, okay, it's really weird because this is actually gonna be really interesting because this is the first time that I'll have talked at length about Episode 9, like in general,
Mhm.
on anything. I'll go ahead and get it out of the way. I think that like the Episode 9 that we got, like The Rise of Skywalker, is probably my favorite Star Wars movie. I know I'm definitely in the minority there. You can go ahead and put your pictures and God, can I talk? Your torches down.
That was the
But
comment section force joking you just then.
yeah, they immediately were like, "Oh no, no way." Um, yeah, I love the Rise of Skywalker a lot, and so and I also just whenever I approach movies, especially like I don't know, anything in general, like I try not to judge it based on like what we didn't get. I try to judge it based on what we did. And so like this is a really unique situation because like this is exactly like we're seeing exactly what we didn't get. Um and so it's really weird because I like a lot of the things from this. And like whenever we first started getting the concept art, I know everyone on Twitter was freaking out about it and they were like, "Oh my God, like we were robbed, like we should have gotten like this, that, and like the other." And like well, one, my like initial reaction to all the concept art was like, well, I mean, of course all this shit looks really cool. Like it's concept art. That's its job. Like that's what it's supposed to do. It is supposed to look really cool.
Hmm.
And it does. It does that very well. All the concept art for this is amazing. Um, and all of these like ideas and the things that we see, like we see Coruscant again, which is really exciting. Rey with a double-bladed lightsaber, which like everyone wanted for so long, was just cool to see. And so like seeing all this, I was like, man, like these are some really interesting ideas and these are some really cool things. But I was like, I don't know, like that doesn't mean that the film would have been great like automatically, you know. Like I was like I don't know how the script was or anything like that. And so seeing the concept art was definitely like exciting and like very much piqued my interest, but it wasn't enough for me to be like, oh, I would have rather gotten this as opposed to what we got.
Yeah,
Because as
that
I
became
already
the
said,
trend on Twitter for a hot second there, wasn't it? Is we were
yeah,
robbed.
yeah, and like I saw one tweet that was really good. They were like, if the situation was flipped and we got like, and they were making the Rise of Skywalker first, and then that wasn't chosen, and we got like this instead, and then we were seeing the concept art for the Rise of Skywalker afterwards, everyone would be like, oh my God, we were robbed. We should have seen like the Death Star fight sequence and Palpatine back and like everything that happened in the Rise of Skywalker instead, just because like the grass is always greener on the other side. Like, you're always gonna want what you like weren't able to get. Um, and I thought that was a really good point because I'm like, I mean, yeah, like a lot of the concepts in the Rise of Skywalker, like it's amazing concept art, and like there's a lot of great stuff in there. Obviously, I love it like a lot. But I feel like that still would have been the general like consensus if the situation was flipped. And so, yeah, it was just really interesting to see like how everyone reacted to it at first and kind of what this movie would have looked like. And yeah, it's just crazy how far they got like into this movie before just completely changing everything.
What I really want is, because the rest of the Star Wars movies have all had this, where there's been great books, there's been great documentaries about how everything was made. The only sequel trilogy movie that we've got that had that, because the Force Awakens one was really disappointing. It was just a fluff piece.
Yeah.
The director and the Jedi goes like super into how the Last Jedi was made, and I just want that for the whole production of the trilogy. I want Rian Johnson to come back, not for another Star Wars movie, just to make that documentary.
I just want the documentary by Ryan Johnson. I'd sign for that. I'd put money down on that.
Just because the story of what's behind the scenes for these three films is just as interesting as the story of Star Wars itself, if not more so sometimes. It's absolutely mind-blowing how Disney, who seem to be on top of the world, me and you are definitely more positive on The Rise of Skywalker than a lot of people are, but it's definitely fair to say that the sequel trilogy has been at the very least controversial. It's Star Wars, so of course it was going to be. There hasn't been a non-controversial Star Wars movie, but it's one of those things where just like either people love it, people hate it, people are in the middle. There's no consensus on it like there seems to be a consensus on the MCU, for example. Like, obviously there are people who just don't like the MCU or don't like things about the MCU. But general public wise, it's like, oh, it's a mitigated success.
Yeah, it's a smash hit. I mean, like it, but far and above is like the probably like the greatest cinematic achievement. Like, especially as far as like success wise, like you just nothing competes with that really. Like,
So I think
just all
in that context, looking at having so much given to us now of, because after Trust, a lot of people asking questions. And most of all, rather than being like angry or disappointed, I'm like, oh, I like stuff in this that I wish I got. I am most of all just grateful that we can do this video, that we have a script to read. I wish every film released their scripts. I think it's such an important thing to do for new writers, for anyone who's looking to get into film. That's why I love the behind the scenes things of so many things, and the like DVD features. That seems to have died out a lot, and I think it's
which pisses me off,
right.
dude. I hate that so much. I would spend so much of my childhood watching the special features on DVDs.
Spider-Man 2, the
shit.
bonus features, I just watched that more than the actual film. I know exactly how they made that costume for Spider-Man 2. It's not even my favourite costume of it, but as a kid, I was just like, oh, so that's how you make the 3D webbing. That's how Sam Raimi decided what size of spider to go to, because what would fit in the shot. All of that stuff is so important, and Star Wars particularly, because George Lucas did it with the passion of just, I'm going to do this so I can get enough money so I can give creatives freedom away from Hollywood standards and stuff like that. And for a larger part, I think he was definitely successful, even with these new films, because you see how many people wished, oh, I wish Rian Johnson was held back by Disney and told what to do here. Like, Star Wars has been a very good cinema medium for being able to get creative to do what they want. Not so much with the spin-off films sometimes. That's a whole other discussion. But at least with the main saga, they seem to have been pretty decent in like letting people tell the stories they want to tell. And I think JJ gets attacked as if he gave in to pressure, where I 100% believe what him and Chris Terrio did with The Rise of Skywalker is exactly what they would have done no matter what the fans said. It feels very personal to them, flaws and all, right? Like, that's how I read that anyway.
Yeah, and like I think that I don't know if you saw. I would imagine that you saw the thread on Twitter. It was like pretty soon after the film came out. It was them doing like a Q&A at one of the screenings, and someone like asked them how they approach writing this with all the expectations and everything, obviously comes with it. And they were just like, I mean, we just had to write the movie that we wanted to see, because like that's really all you can do. Like, you're obviously not going to please everyone. It's just not possible to do that. and so they were like they said there was the ideas that they liked and they enjoyed, and they just had to like double down on that and do that. And I definitely think that's what they did.
Hmm.
And as far as like the one thing is a kind of a sort of tangent, but like a lot of people say that the sequel trilogy like isn't, or like it failed. I'm doing air quotes. Like because it didn't have a game plan from the get go. Like they didn't have everything mapped out. But like none of the Star Wars movies did. Like the original trilogy did not have a like set game plan. Whenever they went to like film A New Hope, they were like, "This is how everything's going to go from 4, 5, and 6." And like George Lucas changed a lot of things whenever he was doing 1, 2, and 3 as well. And so like I don't agree with that being a good argument for why things do or do not line up in this trilogy. I think they line up a lot more than a lot of people would say. But like either way, I just don't think that's a like great point to throw on and be like, oh, it wasn't as good because they didn't have it all planned out from the beginning. Because I think that there's still a lot that you can draw from each of these movies individually, but it's still a very cohesive story, like through all three of them as well.
And I think what's relevant to the script right now, because I won't leave you guys teasing any longer, but that approach directly ties into that creative freedom thing we were talking about. Is it lets you get this script, which, although it has some similar elements, is wildly different than the film we got in so many different ways. Characters go on completely different journeys. The biggest example, I think, being Kylo Ren. Everything is just completely a different person's vision. But you can see, at least, even if I don't agree with some of the things, you can see that it's still flowing off from the previous two films. It's just in a different direction, which I think is so fascinating as any storyteller to be able to like. I mean, hell, this entire channel right now, Geeks for Fun, has been built on me doing a wacky crossover because I was like, oh, what if you put Goku in the DC universe and how would that go? And we've done other stuff like that. It's about having that unbridled creativity. Just go for it and any direction you want. And seeing two different versions now, reading one and watching the other, of the same two foundation that led up to it is just so interesting to me. I guess the first thing I want to point out about that is, how do you feel about the intro of this film then? Starting out with BB-8 trying to infiltrate this giant ship.
Okay, I love the intro to this movie. Well, this script, I guess I should say. Like before I get like too far into that, I'm glad you brought that up because I think that again, as someone who is a very creative person and like is a like writer and like is very interested in this kind of thing, it is very wild like how vastly different these two versions of essentially the same movie are. Like that's just I completely agree. It's just crazy to like think about. Yeah, no, the intro to this movie, like BB-8 being like deep undercover. I mean, it's just one so cool. Like BB-8 is one of, if not the best droids in Star Wars. I will not take any criticisms.
All the droids are the best boys.
That's true. That's very true. But yeah, so like BB-8 going deep undercover is really cool. It's just the whole intro sequence, the way that it plays out, like it feels very classic Star Wars of them being, having to go undercover and try to like mess with the First Order and disrupt their plans. And I love how it makes note of and like it's kind of a commentary on the fact that they've been doing the same thing and using the same tactics for so many films and for so many years that like it doesn't work out well whenever they go to do it, because the First Order is like, oh yeah, this is the same shit that you've been doing, like we're aware of how you go about this.
Like there's the line of just like, oh, they're still using the same tired old tactics of sneak in a base, throw grenades, and hope it works. So like, wow,
yeah, exactly.
We learn how to contain the grenades, which I think is brilliant. I think that's such a great. It's something new. It shows that evolution in technology we've been seeing of just like time has passed. It's like 30 years on from Empire, the same tactics just wouldn't work anymore. All of that is really great. I really like the idea of like. When we first meet Rose in this, who I straight up say is just Rose here is fantastic, and that's one of my things I'm most disappointed about is that we didn't get how fucking badass Rose is in this film.
She's so great. She does so much in this version of the movie. Like it's insane, honestly. Like
so Rose was undercover for 2 weeks, meant to be 2 days. Then I'm just like, okay, guys. But she's kind of like befriended the locals and got friends with a baby, and Rose and BB-8 have like a mini reunion, and then Poe and Finn get on board, and there's a bit like that, like you mentioned, is that classic Star Wars feel. And then we get, as you'll see on screen, they're in a bit of a pinch, and then a Tusken Raider takes off the mask, double-bladed lightsaber reveal, and then I imagine John Williams would blare the Rey theme right now as we see Rey fully decked out in her. She stole Luke's Return of the Jedi outfit.
Okay, yeah. So I think I know your thoughts on this. What do you think about her like outfit for this? Her like Jedi outfit.
Ah, man, I I was just hoping it's this. I have the same problem, less so in the Rise of Skywalker, but it's the same inherent problem with both. Is it's not something new. It's not Rey. Like at least with the Rise of Skywalker, it's still Rey style, and I like the white because it's something we haven't seen on screen for a Jedi before. You kind of get Luke in The Last Jedi when he's in his full Jedi robes. He's got white, but it's not like his main character sequel outfit. It's like you get Anakin and then Luke and then Rey, and having Rey just be in all white is a really nice distinction because it makes Kylo lean more to the blacks with the rest of the Skywalkers.
Yeah.
Once you have Rey in the full decked out outfit, I get that Luke's her master, but it just feels so much like it's making her an accessory, right? It's not letting her be our own character.
Yeah, it's the same outfit basically.
It's not even like a changed version. Same belt, same everything.
The open flap thing.
Uh-huh.
Which I mean, granted, it's a really good looking outfit.
I mean, I'm cosplaying it. I'm not gonna attack the outfit. I love the outfit.
I'd rock the shit out of that, but like it is kind of like disappointing that it's not new, and it also made me laugh because multiple times in the script, like Poe makes a comment about how she looks like a Jedi whenever she's wearing it, and like I don't know, in my mind, like that outfit is like maybe the least Jedi looking outfit of the Jedi wardrobe that we've seen on screen. Like I know that Luke wears it, obviously, but like it's a very big departure from the normal Jedi robes or like the classic Jedi robes that we see. And so like in my head, I was just like, oh, that's kind of funny because like I don't know. I mean, I guess to them she might like look like a Jedi the most, but like to me, I'm like that's kind of like a more outlier Jedi looking outfit.
It's like Luke probably had some sketched photos and like ideas of what a Jedi is supposed to look like.
Here, look at this.
And he just kind of hobbled his own outfit together. But and again, it's intentional. Is it meant to be? It kind of in this film it works as well in that respect. But I don't think repeating that idea was the best thing. Is the reason why Luke's wearing black in Return of the Jedi is he's using the dark side, and you see him at the start of the film. He's force choking people, and he looks like Vader when he's fully cloaked up. Is you're meant to be believing in Return of the Jedi, like, oh my god, Luke's making the same mistakes Anakin did. He's going down that route visually. Why Rey going down that? She's still using the dark side in this, but unlike Rise of Skywalker, that's like the main point of that film is that Rey feels she's almost destined to go to the dark side. In here, she's just really angry a lot for like no reason. The most like they keep calling her a Jedi, and I think one of the things I'll mention just because this is her debut. She just slaughters everyone. And admittedly, like, Jedis do that, but what I liked about Luke and Obi-Wan is they always gave him a chance. Like, Luke could have stormed Jabba's palace and rescued everyone and killed everyone, but he didn't. He gave Jabba, like, 4 chances, and then he was forced to kill. That's what the Jedi does. Rey in this is just, she's so murder happy, but then we're supposed to believe she's the full embodiment of the light when Kylo's the dark. And I'm just like, she kills more people than Kylo in this film.
That's a really good point. Like, Kylo's maybe like more malicious whenever he does in this, but yeah, her body count is way higher. Oh, that's interesting. I hadn't even thought about it like that.
There's just something that struck out to me.
I will say, I love her like reveal in this because
the reveal itself is fantastic. I
did not think that the Tusken Raider was her. I was like, oh shit, I was like, they're fucked. I was like, there's someone else that's like onto their plans. And so whenever that happened, I was like, okay, script, you got me. Like,
but apart from the Rey thing, just got up screen like Rey, Finn, Poe, Stormy, and I think again that's a great like initial introduction to our trio at like the start of the film. We kind of get the introduction to Poe and Finn at the start of Rise of Skywalker, but it probably would have been a good idea to just get all 3 up front as like the opening scene to really get you like hyped for the rest of the film to come. What I've got up now though is probably one of my favorite things that I'm so annoyed. I think that's this is a problem I think I have just with how J.J. Abrams handles Star Wars. Is you'll see this is the picture of the eclipse, which is very important in this film, and its design is like gorgeous. It's like a bat Star Destroyer. It looks like something Batman would make in Star Wars.
Yeah,
and
it's crazy.
They steal it, and it ends up helping them escape. But one of my problems with the new sequel trilogies is we get no new ship designs. Like, we get a couple here and there, but
They're just
never
they're mainly variations of things that we've already seen.
And if you
more so
compare
than,
that to the prequels, which had tons of new stuff, even though they were meant to be before, is Star Wars has always been about new things. And I think J.J. Abrams does have a little bit of a problem of trying to match the original trilogy as if he's making a film in that time period, where it's 30 years later, we should be seeing the next style artistically. We should be seeing...
like the next evolution of it.
Mm-hmm. So, like, say Rise of Skywalker, where we got like Palpatine's whole fleet, they're just all Star Destroyers with like minor modifications and a Death Star jack to it. Imagine if there were a fleet of those, of like these Sith Eclipses. Like, that would have been an incredible sight.
Yeah, that would have been really cool. Yeah, that's a good point, because like whenever you see Palpatine's fleet, you're like, oh, it's a bunch of Star Destroyers. I saw those 30 years ago.
Exactly, right? It's like they are awesome, but they're it's like the problem of just overexposure, right? Is once you've seen them in Rogue One and after another, is like you lose that impact when they're so frequent. And if we've got the advantage of jumping between time periods, let's add some new stuff that will be iconic for a new generation for years to come, so we can have kids in the playground arguing, oh, what's your favorite ship? Oh, that sucks. Ah, fuck you. Like that kind of stuff. Exactly. I feel like is
let's get these playground fights going.
Exactly. Let's just be toxic to the kids. But yeah, they escape. The Knights of Ren come on their heel, and this is what I'm curious about what your thoughts are. Because we get introduced to the Knights of Ren and they kill the general in charge who failed them, and they're reporting back to Kylo. How do you feel the Knights of Ren are in here?
Oh, I really like them in this. I like them because they actually do something in this film.
Oh, yeah.
They don't really fucking do anything in The Rise of Skywalker.
Which is a shame. I mean,
it's a shame. Admittedly, it's not like a huge flaw that I have with that movie, I guess, just because. So my thing with The Rise of Skywalker is that, like, it does so much that I love wholeheartedly that the things that I'm like, oh, kind of didn't like that, or like wish they would have done this, just isn't enough to like bring that down. And so like the Knights of Ren not really doing shit in The Rise of Skywalker, I'm like, like whatever. Like, they're so good in this. I actually don't know if their numbers are the same, like in this. If there's 4, it is like, was it 4 in The Rise of Skywalker as well? Because like I was like, it might have been 5, but I can't.
I'm trying to remember that shot when they look like a boy band
on the desert. I don't know.
I think it's 4. I think because I think it's still directly from that initial. I mean, this film directly calls back to the shot in Force Awakens when we see them, and I think it's the same number there. So, but they get names here.
Yeah, they get fucking names here, dude. Like, I don't know any of. I mean, the Rise of Skywalker makes no attempt at saying any of their names at all. They literally even have the line where like they like walk past, the stormtrooper acts as like one audience member to the other. They're like, "Who the fuck is that?" And they're like, "Oh, it's the Knights of Ren." This like Kylo Ren's like whatever. And it's like, yeah, because no one knows who the fuck they are, because they didn't do anything in any of the movies. I mean, guess what? They're not going to do anything in this movie either.
They kind of have that scene in this film, though, as well, when the general has to talk about the Knights of Ren and kind of list the name off, like the Power Rangers. So both scenes are pretty goofy to me. I'm just kind of like, you know what? They should just have the Knights of Ren be the guards in The Last Jedi and just get them out with that.
But I love the Praetorian Guards.
I know, or at least have the Praetorian Guards. The Praetorian Guards over the Knights of Ren, in my opinion, they just look cooler. And they
and the call back to like Roman times. Come on,
I'm all about it. But other than that,
you not love that?
other than that, the Knights of Ren are definitely, if we're comparing, definitely better served in this film.
Oh, 100%.
So we get to see the Resistance like pick off. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there. If you've got
you're totally good.
Okay, so the Resistance, Rey and Poe go over there to escape in the eclipse, and then we cut to what Hux is up to. And this I'm really curious about because I'm kind of mixed. is we see what the First Order has been doing on. Let me get the pick up. Coruscant. Yeah, here we go. And this is a really cool like execution scene. And we see the First Order have taken over Coruscant. They've set up this giant capital fleet spin top thing. They've kind of changed the architecture around to suit them. And Hux has become Chancellor Hux, and he orders an execution of a rebel spy. Really dark for a Star Wars film. Like,
Oh, which I love.
I mean, I know you do because you're a miserable fuck. But
Yeah, I love dark shit, honestly. Gotta go ahead and say that. Like, dark and gritty, depressing stuff get injected into my veins. I love it. So, dude, yeah, the saber guillotine thing. Oh,
that is pretty
yeah.
badass. I'll give
That's
it that.
so badass. And a public execution? Oh, dude, just yeah, I'd love to see that, honestly.
I mean, it's like something you expect to see like a Vader comic, not the main Star Wars
Which,
film.
like, honestly, wouldn't be surprised if, like, that one thing right there, like, Kathleen was like, nope, bring JJ back. This dude's trying to
Uh-huh.
behead people in the main Star Wars movie. Can't do it.
It's
And
a bit
again,
much. And there's another scene near the end of this relating to Hux, which I had the same opinion of, like Jesus.
it's
But so we get a public execution for Hux, and we get like an insight into like the power structure of the First Order. Is Kylo Ren is missing. He's pulled a like Luke Skywalker at the start of Episode 7. He's vanished, and Hux has had to kind of lie and keep up appearances as things are starting to crumble, as revolutions are starting up. People are getting inspired from Luke's words in The Last Jedi, and all the youth are starting to like rebel. And Hux is struggling to keep a leash on that because his big power symbol, his Darth Vader stand-in, has gone, and they don't know where Kylo Ren has gone. So before we get into your boy, because I know you're very excited to talk about your boy,
I have
what do you think
thoughts.
about good old Hux?
So, I think that I like Hux a lot more in this than in The Rise of Skywalker. I think that his role in The Rise of Skywalker definitely makes sense because he's just like, oh, fuck Kylo, which is totally in line with his character. Um, but again, and this is similar to like Rose's situation and the Knights of Ren, like he has shit to do in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like he has a very important role, and I think that his role is very like there's a lot of layers to that. Like one, he's got sort of like what he wanted in that like not complete. He doesn't have absolute power, but like he is more or less like the ruler of this. I mean, not he's not the ruler, but like he's in charge of the day to day of the
Mm-hmm.
First Order and like making sure things operate as they should. And he's the one like dealing with all the other powerful members of these different like crime families and different organizations and things like that. Um, and so he's got the weight of responsibility of like leading all of this and seeing like how he handles that, and then also how he like harbors his obvious resentment for Kylo in this is just a really interesting thing, and like I really like the depth that it gives his character in this film because I feel like I like him in the first two movies, but he sometimes is definitely played for the comic relief, like in The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi. And while I think that it fits in both of those films, this version definitely gives his character a lot more. You're like, oh man, like kind of shitty that he's like, even though he's obviously the bad guy, you're like, man,
Uh-huh.
he's kind of going through a lot.
I
That
mean,
kind of sucks.
is
Like,
it? Because
I mean,
I'm gonna have to. I mean, I do see where you're coming from a lot of that, but
like I don't think it makes him sympathetic at all, but I think that it adds depth to him,
oh
which is
yes,
good.
of course, but I feel like my issue with this is because I always like I've seen a lot of people who take Hooks in that direction. I think it's perfectly fine to view him that way, and I think that's why the script went that way. But I guess I've always kind of leaned more to how maybe JJ initially conceived him, is that he is basically evil C3PO. He is he is the definition of textbook brainwashed Nazi, and
Yeah.
as a result, he is meant to just be a bumbling buffoon. And there's layers of that in this. One of my favorite scenes in this entire script is that one of the running things, and I'm gonna call it a running gag because I fucking died every time it happened. Is Hooks keeps trying to use the Force.
Oh my god, that is so funny. It's oh yeah, it's hilarious that he like wants to use the like he wants so badly to be that special. Like he's
hmm
like, if I just keep fucking trying, like I could,
He's got
I
like a
know it'll
coin.
work.
I'm gonna try and make it move.
Like, yeah, 8-year-old me was there too, Hux. Don't
Uh-huh.
worry. Like, this dude's like 48 years old, fucking leading the
He's got his
galaxy, and it's
grey
like, but
hair now.
if I can just fucking lift this, like, oh, I know I can read her mind. I know I can do it. Like, and it just does not work.
So
Um,
there is that to it. And I
yeah, and I
respect
think,
them trying to balance it. I don't think if this came out, I would have hated it. But what I like about the Rise of Skywalker appreciation is that it keeps that, but it also kind of it takes into a place no other Imperial has ever been, where they fully. It shows you what happens when someone fully stops fighting for what they love and only attack what they hate. Right? It's all of that that's Hux. He is just doesn't care about the thing he's dedicated his life to because he just fucking wants to see Kylo Ren just eat shit. Like that kind of petty level of energy is something I love so much in a character because it's so rarely done. So where they will throw down everything just to see this one it's like Lex Luthor level of fucking alien level of hate, and I'm just like
yeah,
I really like that angle because I think it's more unique. This I feel like could have been like a fraud, could have had like even General Pride. That type of character is what Hooks is in this, and I think it's fine. But personally, I do prefer leaning more into just the he's kind of a buffoon, he's kind of ridiculous, but lo and behold, the resistance is saved because this mentality of that they've built the First Order on of just encouraging hate has doomed them. Because this is what happens when you encourage hate. You get the ultimate infighting. And that's one thing I do think is missed in this. Is there's literally like there's a line mentioned by Hooks, but Hooks and Kylo have a pretty decent relationship, which I don't think would have happened.
yeah, that's true. Like I mean, they don't really like they don't directly butt heads in this like at all.
No, there's
Like,
no coup attempt. It's just like, oh, Kylo will probably die. I'm not gonna make
yeah,
attempt for that.
yeah, he's like, oh, whenever he probably fails, I'll be able to get everything. It's not
Hmm.
like he's not actively like, I'm gonna make sure this motherfucker dies on whatever stupid ass mission he's going towards.
Which I think
Like,
if you were gonna make Hooks like in this full on, like grey haired now. He's like ginger grey, full on lightsaber with one hand, public executions. I say just go full on and just have him be like, yeah, I'm gonna make sure Kylo Ren. Like when we later on, Kylo Ren gets into an accident when he gets injured. Have Hooks been behind that. Have Hooks been like Loki sending assassin attempts 24/7 against Kylo. And Kylo knows he's doing it, but he also knows he's just not equipped to run the galaxy, so he has to keep Hooks around. And yeah, then you get that cool power dynamic and also kind of lean into that maybe Ben really isn't cut out for evil.
yeah, and then it also plays into like the larger theme of the fact that there will always be infighting in the Sith, even though I know they're technically not Sith or whatever in these, but like, I mean, they basically are.
In this,
Come
they
on.
definitely are. They talk about the
Yeah.
Sith all the
Oh,
time.
that's true. That is very true. Which, oh, dude. Okay, we'll get to that in a second when we get more Kylo and stuff. But yeah, I don't know. I think Hux is he's definitely interesting in this. I don't know which one I would prefer. I think, yeah, I think that this one definitely takes him in like a different direction than um the trajectory of the like first two movies were. But I still think it's in line with the character. But yeah, I definitely think the Rise of Skywalker is more so like continuing that already established like where his character was going. And then yeah, I agree that just the pure like oh fuck, he's like I literally don't care if you guys win. I just want Kylo to lose. Like fuck that guy, and that's just great. Like you can't not love to see that.
Hmm.
Um,
But
so yeah,
speaking of your Kylo Ren, he is
oh
probably the one we've probably spent a lot of time on this as we keep going, not just here. But we first see Kylo Ren, same place he was in Rise of Skywalker when we first see him. He's on Mustafar, and I will
yeah,
say the description in this kind of gave me some chills just imagining what this would look like on screen with like his cape bellowing in the wind. If you get like a real like surreal pan shot and like really sell that, that's like my wallpaper for life. Of Kylo Ren looks
forever.
over the decrepit castle of Darth Vader. Like that's just like a metal album cover right there. But characterization wise, we are faced with a Kylo who, just like Rise of Skywalker, is looking for more power. He's looking for more secrets because he doesn't have a master anymore, so he's just kind of having to salvage things. He's become the scavenger, if you will. but the direction they take him is so any shred of ideas you might have had of Kylo Ren could be redeemed. Kylo Ren's meant to be a sympathetic character. He's meant to be tragic. He's been set up these past few films as being pulled to the light and setting up an eventual redemption arc. This film completely guts that straight away. This Kylo Ren is full on villain mode from the get go.
Yeah, which, dude, this is probably the thing that I'm most torn on. Um, because even like before The Rise of Skywalker came out, like I was talking with my other friend Sean about this, and he would like ask me like what direction I would want Kylo to be. For those that don't know, Kylo Ren is my favorite Star Wars character, just like ever. My cat is literally named Kylo. Um,
So cute.
but oh, he's adorable. Um, but so, and I was like, really, like any direction that they take him, I feel like I'll be okay with because like one, if they, which they obviously did go with the redemption arc in the Rise of Skywalker, I was like, one, I love tragic characters, which I fucking hate that I love tragedies so much because it breaks my heart every time. But those are my favorite characters and my favorite stories, and so I was like, if they go the redemption arc, then like that'll break my heart that way, which will be great. But then also like I love just badass like evil villains. They're just cool. I mean, to put it bluntly. And so I was like, yeah, if they make him like just all powerful, like pure evil, like that would be really, really cool too. And like we get that in this version of the film. And so I like love the shit out of this because I'm like, yeah, like he's just a fucking badass that's just going for more Sith power. Like he very much reminds me of Bane in this, and that Bane is just constantly like he's just I need to just evolve and become better than I am now. It's all about in service of gaining more. I mean, through like power, he gains victory. Like and so it's just that to the extreme. That's just all he's going for and all he cares about. And he's just like, I will be stronger than my father, my grandfather. Like I will be the strongest there has been. And so seeing him really explore that is something that I love to see. Um, and like would have loved to see also. So yeah, it's really interesting. I definitely do like I am disappointed that we didn't get to see like a decrepit Vader's castle because like
That is so, especially because we did go to Mustafar. Like,
yeah, like he was fucking on Mustafar in the beginning of The Rise of Skywalker, which I also think it's crazy just how different Mustafar looks in The Rise of Skywalker compared to the
yeah, this is
description in
definitely
this film.
more sticking to what's been shown in like the comics and stuff.
Yeah, which is like so interesting again, which goes back to like what we talked about at the beginning of like just how vastly different you can take this film as far as direction. Um, but yeah, like just he was fucking at Mustafar and we didn't get to. He was going for a holocron on Mustafar and it wasn't Vader's and Vader's. The fuck, JJ? Like that's the one thing that I'm like I don't understand. I love that Mustafar sequence. I think it looks badass, but like definitely a
You
missed
could have literally just
opportunity.
moved it a couple meters
Yeah,
towards the
just
castle.
like yeah, just go like a little bit just west a little bit and there you are. Like they probably just
Yeah.
didn't want to build the set or the CG, which they were on a shorter time scale, which I understand. So whatever.
Hmm.
Um just wanted to happen if they went with this version of the movie. Just saying.
I mean, but you never know because filmmaking is one of those things where this got cut. I think in one of the other drafts, they don't. This isn't even Mustafar. This is just they cut straight from this. They cut this planet out and they put it to Tor Valum, who you will get to in a second. They go
Oh,
get
that's
straight
some fucking weird shit.
they go
That's
straight to that guy's planet as like the one Sith planet rather than having two like because this script goes all over the shop. Like we go to so many different planets and
oh, there's like 20 planets in this
uh-huh.
movie.
And I think it's a bit much. I
Oh,
100% agree with the whatever they do in the next draft is just cut that shit down because A, you're being way too ambitious even if you've got all the time in the world, and just C, you're overwhelming the audience. And people already said Rise of
yeah.
Skywalker was overwhelming. That's got like four.
Yeah, dude, exactly. I will say though, because like people say like the Rise of Skywalker, like the pace at the beginning of it is very breakneck, which I agree that it is. But I said from the beginning, I was like, I mean, this is the final movie. Like, they need. Do you want to like spend like 30 minutes like fucking lollygagging? Like,
Exactly right. It's just like
whatever.
go, go, go.
Yeah, and but like for some reason, whenever I was reading the script, I was like, this first act feels very more like normal
Yeah.
than like the Rise of Skywalker did, which isn't a bad or a good thing. It's just it feels
Different.
very yeah, it's just different. It feels you're like, okay, this is kind of a more normal like just movie in general, like first act. Um, but yeah, no, seeing him on like him being on Mustafar, going to Vader's castle is just really fucking cool. Because I mean, like it's his grandfather's castle, and like Vader, it's all the like imagery and everything that you can get with that.
Mm-hmm.
It's really cool. But yeah, him going the full on villain thing, like I said, I love that. I think that that's a really cool like direction to take his character. It's not something that like again like I have such a hard time. I don't think I'll ever be decided or like be able to say like I wish that we got this instead of that. But it is something that I'm like, man, I wish we could have got both.
Yeah,
Like,
can we just have two films in in a dream world?
like, can everyone just like come back real quick and can we shoot this one too, please?
I'm
Like,
just like, why can't you just keep them all on and just make like a 3 hour film together? I think is the real.
right?
I think because
Yeah,
my current opinion is going to be to the end of this as well is that there's between these films is the perfect Star Wars movie. Like
yeah.
no ifs, no buts. The perfect, not just my favorite, the perfect Star Wars movie lives between these two films. But
It's so weird.
yeah,
'Cause it's like there's some things in this film that this script that I'm like, oh, I really fucking love that, and there's other things I'm like, oh, I really don't like that at all.
yeah, that's one of
Like,
those
so
things. One thing
I'm
I
like,
do really
oh,
like though, and this is something I wish had. This is where I'm gonna get conflicted because I like the idea of what they're about to do next, but I hate the execution. So Kylo goes to Vader's castle,
mhm.
and then we hear that "I'll see you around, kid." Luke Skywalker has been haunting him this entire time,
Yeah.
and I'm
Oh,
just
okay.
like, yes,
Oh, so good.
please. That is the best idea. If he's a Force ghost, why wouldn't Luke just be like, "Well, I'm gonna bug you until you go to the light side."
Yeah. He's like, come on. You know,
So he's
you're
talking
doing the
about,
wrong
and
thing.
at this initial scene, he's kind of talking about like the lack of power in the dark side, and that it will doom you and you'll be failed. Like I've got the exact like iteration here where Kylo snaps, spins, and swings his lightsaber at empty space with a bellow of cold wind. Luke's spirit is gone. Go home, Ben. Go home to Leia. Kylo is shaken. Like I really like that moment. What I'm iffy about later is we continue this, but Luke is like really bad at trying to bring him. It's like he's actively giving him reasons not to turn sometimes. Like there's this line in this where he calls him "You'll know Skywalker." I'm like, what the fuck, dude?
Oh yeah,
You're the reason he
definitely
turned
not
to the
the.
dark side in the first place.
Yeah, it's definitely just like fueling his hatred. Like
It's just
he's
like
just being,
Luke.
he's being
Luke would not like Luke in Last Jedi gets a lot of like controversy. I'm just gonna leave it at that because I don't want my comment section to turn into that. But by the end of that film, he has said that what he's been talking about at the beginning of that film is wrong, and he's learned his lesson through Rey and is willing to inspire a new generation. I will not be the last Jedi versus it's time for the Jedi to end. Like that is his arc, right? Is he comes back to being a better Luke Skywalker than he's ever been before. So when he's a Force ghost, he should just be full on Zen Jedi, wiser than we've ever seen a Jedi before. Luke in this is still talking like he was at the beginning of Last Jedi, where he's very cynical, very much no one, Ben can't be redeemed, there's no point in bringing him back. Where, again, direct Last Jedi, he's the one who says no one's ever really gone, and all of this shit, it really rubbed me the wrong way. Where the Rise of Skywalker, my thing is like, I like the Luke scene. I can tell it's a reshoot because of the wig and the blue, and I wish he was in it a little bit more as just like keep him as extra character, especially because we don't have Carrie Fisher anymore. If you've got Mark Hamill and you can have him be a Force ghost, just have him around, right? Like it's people
yeah. Why
are
not?
used to that, right? Especially if it's Luke frickin' Skywalker. Just say,
Yeah,
well, he's the strongest one, so he can stick around more, and that's what this film kind of does. But the characterization, I just think is just so off. I
he's
don't
just
like
really
how Luke's written
patronizing
here.
to him.
Exactly right. He's patronizing. He's not listening. He doesn't take in any information, and he's just repeating facts which he's already disproven and got over, and like talks about. Like there's a especially when we got later on with Ray, but it really feels like Luke comes across just as so much as a dick in this, compared to the film where he actually did try to murder Kylo, which is a fucking feat, right? Like,
Yeah, that's pretty impressive that you can make him more dickish in this, that just by being like, hey, you're kind of a piece of shit, you know that, Kylo? Like,
it's just,
just
it's like if, oh wow, you think he's gonna be redeemed? Here, I'm gonna be a voice in the head telling him how irredeemable he is. This entire, like, the fuck, man?
just does no favors for Kylo's redemption.
It's like Luke's gonna be the one in this film who's gonna say, "I was every voice inside your head."
That line, so good. The
But
fact,
yeah, so Luke and Kylo, I like in a concept execution. Bleh. But cutting back to what our lovely Resistance folks have been up to, is we get to see Leia. Let me see if I can get the image up for everyone really quickly, because I actually really do like Leia's outfit in this. I know we'd have never got a chance to see Carrie Fisher wear this, sadly, but it looks great. It's a great homage to her original appearance, and I think that's a cool idea, which is in all the white again.
so
But
that's something that's really interesting to me about this script.
yeah,
Is like, this was written. Was this written before her passing?
it was written just like a week before.
Okay, so that makes a lot more sense because, like, reading this, I was like, there's no fucking way most of these scenes with her can happen.
Exactly, didn't know.
Like, there's absolutely, it's not possible. Because she has a much bigger role in this than she does in The Rise of Skywalker, which that is actually probably like my biggest complaint about The Rise of Skywalker is not like how big her role is in it, but just like literally all of her scenes, ironically, except for the flashback scene where she's like de-aged, feels super off to me. Like the ones where they used footage from the or like unused footage from The Force Awakens and like repurposed them, they feel like I think it's just because my brain knows that like she did not film those scenes for this
The
movie.
delivery just isn't what
Yeah,
she would say.
and so I'm like, it just feels off to me. And so like all of her like present day scenes in The Rise of Skywalker, like I don't like a whole lot because I'm like, that's not what this was originally for. Like my brain is just like, no, no, no. Which ironically, like I said, the de-aging one is probably my favorite scene like of her in that movie. But yeah, like her role in this, I like her role in this. It's more or less kind of this. I mean, she's like the resistance leader, and she plays a big role in trying to bring Ben back and also like guiding Rey to an extent. Yeah, I don't know. Leia's a weird character to me, like in Star Wars, because I don't know. Like I love her a lot in concept and like what she represents and who she is and stuff. But like I've just never been a really big Leia fan. Like I know like a lot of people obviously have a very strong love for her, and like I totally understand why. But like I don't know. I just haven't ever really been a huge like fan behind Leia, which this script didn't really like change that. I like what she does in this movie, and I think that she's obviously very integral to everything that's happening. But yeah, I don't know. I've just always had kind of like weird feelings about Leia in Star Wars.
Yeah, I guess I'm just more positive on Leia in general as a character, but here again, I don't think it very much wowed me, especially because knowing that this was written before her passing, and yet this film was always hyped as like Han's going to be the star of 7, Luke's going to be star of 8, Leia's going to be star of 9. I'm kind of
I don't get that
underwhelmed.
feeling at all. Yeah, I don't get that feeling at all from this.
Yeah, it's like she's not. Like, again, despite it being more coupled together, and you get a line or two of it in here, but Rise of Skywalker did a better job of making me believe that Rey and Leia were master and shooter and had a great bond now, even though you could tell they didn't film those scenes. It's how the intention behind it and just getting to see those two around each other and then getting, like, she inherits Leia's lightsaber. All of that gives it kind of a mythic weight to it. That, yes, Leia actually, and that she's directly responsible for Ben's redemption in Rise of Skywalker. Makes me just tip my hat to JJ for doing the best he could in a really shitty situation for everyone involved. It's a tragedy. But
Yeah.
this script with free reign, it just does less for that. And I'm just kind of like, oh, wait, wow. This
Yeah,
wasn't
like
Leia's film at all, really. It was even Lando barely does anything, and you had free reign with him as well. Is Luke's more a prevalent, and yet Luke doesn't sound like Luke. So I'm always like, this film feels
it's weird.
weird. Yeah, just
It's
exactly
just
that.
it's just so weird whenever you like start breaking things down like that and like thinking about that. kind of like it's literally just head scratching. You're just like, I don't quite understand all of those decisions. I mean, she is like very integral in Ben's. I don't know if you could call it redemption. Like,
His
in this.
last second change of heart, but we'll get to
Yeah,
that because I got some
yeah,
feelings on how that's
that
executed. Yeesh.
that whole fuck. Yeah, we'll get to that when we get to it.
Um,
But
but yeah,
yeah,
Leia's here.
she does more in
She's
this.
got she's got one really good moment. Uh, that I would imagine if this did get to film would have made a lot of people tear up. Just when she
I'm
like
trying to.
Leia, we'll get to it, but it's like it's the big rallying moment, right? Of like,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I know what you're talking about. Okay.
So that's that. But we've got, other than Leia, the main protagonist of the film that we talked a little bit at the start. But this is an interesting interaction because it's kind of something I fundamentally disagree with what this film tries to do, just in terms of Star Wars interpretation. I'm curious where you land on that. Is we get to see Luke and Rey are still training. And Rey is getting frustrated with just her own inability to kind of cope with everything. And Luke kind of chides her. Luke being dick in this film once again, not being understanding. He talks about the rules of the Jedi that he really should have been changed by now because that's what the point of Return of the Jedi was about. Okay. But Luke's sticking to all of that about like no attachment, none of these things, about like balance and not having the light. And then Rey comes at him, and Rey starts talking about Grey Jedi stuff. She starts talking about the light and the dark, and by the end of the film, that's what this big argument the film is trying to make is you're supposed to use the light and the darkness in one person, like Revan or like you've seen in The Force Unleashed, and it's more of a ex-EU idea, and this would be the thing that would bring it into mainline films. Now, I've got my own thoughts on that, but before I get into that, Alex, how do you feel about that being what Rey's arc in this film is? Is her effectively turning the Jedi Order into the Grey Jedi?
So, okay, I I'm again conflicted on this because like I do agree that like the Great Jedi thing is a very like EU and also like fan thing. And then I know that you've seen the video of Freddie Prinze Jr. like going off about it and saying like Great Jedi like doesn't fucking exist, like it's not canon. That's just something that like fans have made up. And like conceptually, I really love it, and I don't know how I feel about that being a part of like Star Wars canon. I will say, and I actually pulled up the line because I wanted to find it, but like whenever Rey is like arguing with Luke about it, and she says like balance, like in quotes, she says dark suffocates the light, light extinguishes the dark, over and over. How is that balance? And like that is a like line of argument that I actually very fundamentally agree with, and I actually disagree with George Lucas on this, which like I have no place to disagree with George Lucas about Star Wars,
Big
obviously.
britches.
But like because I mean like he has even said that like his idea of balance is the light overcoming the dark, and like me logically I'm like, well, that's not fucking balance. One won, the other lost. Like that's not how that works. And so like that to me, so that's where I kind of like get conflicted about this, because I'm like she has a point there to me in the fact that like one winning over the other is not balanced. Like you can't have one without the other, which they sort of explore a little bit in The Last Jedi with the like the life and death and you know the rebirth and everything like that. And so like I agree with that line of argument and the fact that like this cyclical thing, but then at the same, like I literally just caught myself because like at the same time it being a cyclical thing makes it balanced because it constantly like goes back and forth, and that's where you get the ebb and flow, and that's where you get the balance with it. And so like I don't know, like it's just so it's so interesting to me because like I literally fall on both sides of that spectrum. Like I agree and I disagree because like whenever I watch that Freddie Prinze Jr. video and like he rants about it and he's like there's no fucking Grey Jedi, like that's not how it is, I'm like yeah you're right, that's not how it fucking is. But then I read this line from Rey in the movie and I'm like oh she's fucking right, like this doesn't make any goddamn sense. Like, and so I don't know, I don't really know how to feel about it. I think we'll talk more about like the ending and how that wraps up at
Yeah.
the end because I have more I think I have less conflicted thoughts about the ending and how they deal with that here than I do about the argument as a concept on its like own. Because like the concept, I'm very like back and forth about.
And
Yeah, I don't know. I like that they try to explore it in this at the very least. I think
yeah,
that that's really
it's
cool. Like
mentioned.
I like that they sort of go down that path. Um, but yeah, execution is something that is a whole different thing entirely.
Well, from my end, I'm. Well, I think the main issue is just talking from a fandom perspective, and I don't know if this argument has come up with you, and maybe this will change the way you feel or something like that. Is I feel like George Lucas was very kind of tight-lipped on how the Force worked for a long, long time. Not a lot of people actually got to talk to him about that and get like inside info. So when writers for like Knights of the Old Republic or like the Darth Bane trilogy or all these great, great, fantastic works had basically their own ideas of what they want of like how they interpreted the Force, right? Is you hear light and dark side, and just from that you imagine like yin yang, and there's a lot of yin yang imagery in Star Wars. Um, they just says, oh, so there has to be this, they have to be equal to be right. It's like a lot of people say there has to be equal Jedi and Sith, and that's why Anakin brought balance because he killed all the Jedi and then he killed all the Sith. Um, but when Clone Wars came out and someone actually got to hear from George Lucas's mouth what the intention was, and you get to see that in the Mortis arc, it's very clear that's not what it is. The light and the dark are two chaotic and very powerful, naturally occurring things. And what balance is someone in the middle making sure no one messes with them. That's what the Jedi are. The reason why the Jedi have to have no attachments is they are also not supposed to get too wrapped up in the light side. They're meant to just be the guardians of the Force as a whole. The reason why the Sith and dark side users are bad is because the dark side itself, the more you feed it, actively starts, I guess in a way, poisoning, devouring the balance of the Force. The dark side is the one that does that. The light side doesn't do that. The light side is just static. The dark side is what is created from corruption. The Force itself is basically just the light side, right? So when you see, that's why in how Tross interprets the Chosen One prophecy, you see the father of Mortis is this third omniscient figure, and he dies, and so the son and the daughter all die. And then Anakin takes the mantle as the Chosen One. And then when Anakin dies and the Jedi and the Sith all die, he passes that then on to Rey. And when Rey becomes the Chosen One, she's the one who can finally end the cycle. So you get that great line of Anakin says, bring balance as I once did. Is because she's inhabiting all the Jedi and defeats the Sith without letting the dark side touch her. And in fact, how like when Luke defeats Vader, he uses the dark side. Is he gets angry and he fights Vader and he pulls away, but that little bit's there in him. And that's why he makes the same mistake against Kylo, except Kylo's not as forgiving as his dad was. It's the exact same scene. Rey avoids that pitfall because she doesn't strike down Palpatine anger. Palpatine kills himself effectively. So that's all gone, and we're left with Rey as being the lone Force user, and she can choose what path we can take. And it's left intentionally vague, which I think is the best way to do the Force. Because you're right, the moment you start trying to spell it out, it starts getting confusing.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like whenever you think too far into like one thing, you're like, well, no, like
Exactly right, and there's been so many different people ditching it and messing with it. I feel that's the mistake this film does. Is it falls into that of trying to, well, here's the answer. Here's what the Force is. Here's what the Force should be. And it's not. The Force is bigger than you. The Force is bigger than any of us. It's just inspired by Buddhist concepts, but it become its own mythological thing at this point in terms of just public consciousness of what may the Force be with you means to people. So just saying that and trying to say, no, actually, all the Jedi you've been following in all these great stories all the time, Kanan in Rebels, Ahsoka, how all of that was so good. Yeah, they're actually wrong. They're actually bullshit, and they've been hurting the galaxy because they were supposed to be more evil. Is just so...
Yeah.
Like, you read the Sith code, and it's badass, and me and you like to call ourselves Sith because it's fucking dope. But if you try and apply that like this film does as like the lesson to take away, no! Sith are psychopaths!
Oh, definitely the wrong
person. You get power from the dark side by being uncontrollably angry and evil. That is
Yeah,
not
100%.
balance at all. That is Jedi is the way to go in real life, folks. Do not
Oh,
listen to
100%.
Rey in this film where she wins all her fights by getting angrier. No.
Yeah, honestly, and like whenever you spell it out like that, that's probably where Kathleen was like, maybe not.
I think that's
Like,
the biggest thing. I think that's the definite because Dave Filoni would have had that conversation, right? And he got the word from George of what the Force is. He's the person, and then you got people like Sam Witwer as well and Freddie Prinze Jr. who've worked with that chain of command. They've got the
yeah,
goods, and I don't think Trevorrow got to have that conversation. I don't think he got to know exactly what the Force is meant to be. So he went down the KOTOR route, and the KOTOR route's fine, but even that lines up more than this because Revan's final words when he dies, despite being the perfect Force user, having power in the light and the dark, he says in the end, when the darkness connects me, I am nothing. And he realizes that there is no balance in using the light and the dark. I've just ruined my entire life and dies a
yeah,
failure. That's how Revan's story ends. I know a lot of people who are fans of Revan are pissed off that, but that's what happens when you use the dark side. It doesn't matter if you also use the light side as well. Just don't do it.
yeah. No, yeah, and then there's also the quote from like Qui-Gon. I wish I could probably find like the full quote, but whenever he says like I turn to the light because it's there. Turn.
And Qui-Gon's what people use as like the example of a grey Jedi, right? Qui-Gon doesn't even use the dark side at a moment in his life. He fights.
No.
He's the perfect Jedi. He's not a grey Jedi. He's the example of what the Jedi should be. That the Jedi of the Old Republic failed to live up to because they were corrupted by just being in that corrupt system for so long. You get people like Mace Windu who use the dark side are the worst Jedis around because they fucking gave Palpatine just what he wanted. They became soldiers of the war. Yoda realizes this mistake, how corrupted the Jedi have been, and he goes and exiles himself. Luke later realizes the mistake and he goes and exiles himself. They realize that the idea of the Jedi being these completely toned off attachmentless people is wrong, but that doesn't necessarily mean they should start using the dark side. It should just mean they love is part of the light side and they've been not having that part of them in their lives this whole time, which is
Detrimental. Yeah,
there is some lines in this, but it's related to a love plot, which might be my least favorite thing of this entire film.
Oh, we'll get to that in a fucking second. I have some heated thoughts about that.
But before we get into that, again, I feel like that little spiel on the Force is very important because that's kind of this film's thesis piece. So
I found the quote before we get further. It's, it matters which side we choose, even if there will never be more light than darkness, even if there can be no more joy in the galaxy than there is pain. For every action we undertake, for every word we speak, for every life we touch, it matters. I don't turn towards the light because it means someday I'll win some sort of cosmic game. I turn towards it because it is the light. And like, yeah, that's it. That the better option, definitely. Like I always talk about how the Sith are like more badass.
They
and,
are
like,
more
the
badass.
Sith
We love the Sith.
because they are. But like, yeah, definitely, that's like morally the quote I just read is 100% the way to go.
That's the lesson you're supposed to take away. You're supposed to enjoy Darth Vader as a character because A, he's badass. A, he's so fucking tragic and deep, and there's so much going on there. Same with Kylo and everything. But the lesson you're meant to take away that you're supposed to teach kids at a young age is this is why the Jedi are a good role model because they teach you how to be better and calmer and more comfortable in life. Whereas this idea of balance is what we normally are, whereas the Jedi are something to aspire to. We shouldn't bring the Jedi down to our level, I think is the key. But other than that, other than Rey, we then get a scene where we're having Kylo. I guess we should mention this as well because we kind of skipped over a bit. I think it ties into this because I'll talk about more about the Kylo stuff. If I'm jumping around in order, don't worry, folks. The script is in the description if you want to read it for yourself.
It's a good read. It's a really good read.
It's just fascinating. Kylo gets a holocron and reveals that Palpatine somehow has retired.
Okay. No, wait. Also, something I know, which I read the script whenever I went through it, but like, didn't the script say that this was Palpatine's holocron?
Yes.
What the fuck is Palpatine's holocron doing in Vader's castle?
This whole scene, I think, again, is just a mischaracterization of the original trilogy characters. I don't think Trevorrow
Like
knew how to write those
I
characters.
just I that part confused me so much. I was like, what? Like it just it
Because
doesn't make sense to me.
it's read that this was sent to him right after Strikes Back. Is he says when you bring it's like meant for Vader. And he says when
Yeah,
you
but like, why would
why was it just
Palpatine?
lying around?
Yeah, why would he send him his holocron? I just, there's none of it makes sense to me. It like works as a plot device, but like whenever you actually think of, like, I was just like, well,
Like
that doesn't
the
fucking make sense.
Wayfinder is a much better version of this.
Oh my god, which so many people gave such shit to the Wayfinder, but like, I mean, it does what it needs to
It does
do.
what it needs to
Okay.
do and doesn't break anything. Whereas this is just
Yeah.
like, well, apparently Palpatine was just fine if he died, and that don't worry,
Yeah. What doesn't make
Luke can
any
learn all this stuff. I'm sorry, Palpatine. This is why I don't mind him coming back because his whole deal is okay. I'm the last of the rule of two.
unlimited power.
I'm gonna
It's
have apprentices, but I'm gonna make myself immortal, and no one else is gonna surpass me. And all my plans will be based on that. No one will ever surpass me. I took the chosen one of the Jedi, and I turned him into my fucking dog. All of this is just for me. I'm gonna turn
yeah.
Luke Skywalker into my other dog. He will not surpass me. He's got a tight leash. Apparently there was. This is where we can go straight into this guy. So apparently not just the fanfare everyone was like, is Darth Plagueis back? No, 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 no. Darth Plagueis' master is back, who we've never heard of before, doesn't even have a Darth name, is called Tor Valum. He's about 4,000 years old. Let me get his picture up. Let me get this wrinkly.
7,000 years old in this.
7,000? Okay, I'm even more pressed right now. So this dude has been around before the rule of two. There he is. That's that. Eek.
Damn, I didn't even think about it like that. What the fuck?
Like, right? It's just madness. Scrolling through all of this.
So like this motherfucker is legit like
Nah.
one of the ancients, basically.
Basically. And so Palpatine's holocron gives the postcode of Tor Valum after it fucks up Kylo's face. Because he's not Vader. And they find a way for Kylo to go train under Darth Plagueis' master, who is like, okay, so this is now the most important character in the lore. That we've just established Palpatine's the ultimate evil, but this guy's been around this entire time. And also, thing this script really fucking leaves out, who the fuck was Snoke?
Yeah.
Like,
So
all of this goes into that. I'm just losing my mind. I'll let you have your point now, but like this was the thing about this script which I just don't understand the thought process. This late in the game introducing a character that completely recontextualizes the entire lore. And also, spoilers, he doesn't do shit in this.
no. Oh my god. So yeah, this. So I have like pros and mainly cons with this fucking dude. So like this is a pro that actually goes for like this entire script as a whole. I love how much that they mention the Old Republic in
Yes.
this. I think it's because the Old Republic is my favorite Star Wars actually. Like aside from the sequel trilogy, the Old Republic is my shit. I love the Old Republic and everything about the Old Republic lore. And like they by name mention the Old Republic at least like 8 times in this script,
Oh, it's
which is
constant.
like 8 more times than any other Star Wars movie ever has. So like it's really cool for me to see. Like I love that. And like he mentions that, and like this motherfucker is so old that he lived through that. But so like that's really cool, and I like that. And then like what he does, he teaches Kylo the like force drain thing, where you take the like you just drain the life from other beings around you using the force, which like Darth Nihilus does that, which is really cool. Like, and so he's training Kylo to like get on that level of just being, they like literally allude to in the script being able to rule the galaxy without any like fleets and
I mean,
things
one of
like
my
that.
favorite lines in this entire script, which I do think is fucking fantastic, that this is tied to. I'm like, okay, this is the one thing I do like. Is so where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it?
I know, right? Trying to scroll through everything.
I'm just trying to. This is just because I have to. This scene is just fucking gold. Um, okay, so Kylo calls up Hux after this when he's been trained, and he says, "It is within my reach. The ability to destroy a planet will be. insignificant. And I'm just like, okay,
Yeah.
alright, that's some good, powerful Force shit. I'm all for that. This is the last film. This is the one where you just go balls to the walls and just have these guys just destroy planets and just go, this is what the Force, this is what Vader was talking about. So
Yeah,
I'm all for it in concept. You just don't need to introduce this guy to get that.
no, and they also so like that's the thing. Like I love this concept because again, like that's Darth Nihilus does that. He
Exactly,
literally
right?
he drains the life energy from entire fucking planets, just no problem. That's how powerful you can be with the dark side of the Force. So in concept, I love that. The problem, which I agree with you in this, is like one, introducing a character that, like you said, completely recontextualizes the entire lore of Star Wars from the get go. This dude's been around for 7,000 years. How the fuck are we just now hearing about him now in the last film in the saga?
Looks
Doesn't make
like
any
Darth
sense.
Bane didn't kill all the Sith.
Yeah. Oh, dude, what the fuck? Again, you also said like he doesn't have a Sith name, like he doesn't have a Darth title. Why has this dude just been chilling here for thousands of years doing like he trained Plagueis and then was like, "Oh, that's it, I guess." And then Plagueis never mentioned him, and Palpatine never like. How is Palpatine gonna let this motherfucker still just chill? Like
Why isn't
this dude?
Palpatine taking this shit? Why
Yeah,
would he
like
get
what?
someone else to do
Like
it?
like Palpatine would definitely not let this guy still exist after he rose to his power because like very obvious threat to what he can do. Why hasn't Palpatine started using the like the drain force thing with other people?
If this,
Like
why hasn't Palpatine gone to fucking Mortis? Because it's
it's
apparently
just
really easy in this film.
yeah, dude, people just go there no problem. Like it just doesn't like Ray just sees it in a vision is like, oh, I know how to get there. Like okay, so this dude just does not make any sense for him to show up at all. So like his execution just as a whole just does not he makes less sense than Palpatine coming back from the dead. That's just how that works. And
Without
so
like, it's not even comparable. As big
no,
as
it's
that,
not
as
because
big as
like
the controversy is Palpatine coming back to the dead is like, oh, character we've established for the first 8 films comes back. Wow, okay, I guess that's weird. Hell,
yeah,
by the
no,
way, here's his cooler, more powerful secret granddad you never knew. Come
cooler.
back. It's just more wrinkled. You thought Palpatine was wrinkled. Wait till you see. Michael, can I get him on screen for a second? Oh, thank you, Michael. Brilliant. There he is. Tor Valum. Best character in Star
no,
Wars.
no, and like it's so it just doesn't make it like Palpatine coming back. It leaks. It has like ties in the lore. They're literally like cloning one is a thing. Also, like in the Vader comic, which obviously the general audience has not read the Vader comic, but like Sith coming back is like not unheard of at this point in canon. So like Palpatine coming back, whatever, that's fine. But like this dude, just too many questions that don't have any logical answers because this logically does not make any fucking sense. The other thing that I have a problem with him like training Kylo is that like okay, so a lot of people I've seen like gripes for a lot of people where they're like, oh, like talking about the films that we did get, like that the power level increased with like I know people said it with Rey and the Force Awakens, and then some people I haven't seen it as much with the Rise of Skywalker, which I'm kind of surprised about. But I've seen it like a couple times where like people are like, oh, their like power level increase is like ridiculous for like compared to what we see on screen of them like training, which like I don't give a fuck about because I don't want to spend 45 minutes watching them train to get to like whatever level.
And
That's
it's the
boring.
Force. It's
Yeah,
different. It's not
yeah,
like he's an
exactly.
anime
The
where they're
Force,
training to get power. It's the Force is different.
yeah, exactly. The Force wills what it needs to happen to happen. So like there you go. But like in this script, it actually bothered me that like we get Kylo there with him, and the dude's like, "Yeah, this is how this like works." And then like the next scene, like Kylo drains something from it, and he's just like, "You've learned all that you need to with this." Like the fact that that jump happens, like I guess it bothers me because it happens in the movie. Like I'm okay with the other ones because like the power jump happens off screen and like not as we're watching it. But like in this, it's like, oh, by the way, he just went from like level 80 to level 250
And like in the
while
course
we
of the film, there not a
yeah.
lot of times passed. It was just we cut away for like 2 scenes and then we're
Yeah, and
back.
then we're back, and he's like, "You've mastered it." And then Kylo uses it to kill this dude
The
with
dude's around
no
for 2
fuck, with
scenes.
no fight at all. It bothers me so much the way that that's handled. Like it. Oh, I don't understand. I really don't.
Uh-huh.
Like again, I like the concept of Kylo being able to learn the Force drain thing. I like it. I like that that's apparent. But this dude, fuck off. it just I don't like it. I don't like the way it's executed at all. It's so weird. I don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's
That's that. I think that's justified because he is definitely the weirdest thing in this entire script. And there's the Force drain and something else as well. While we're on this planet, because quite a few things do, I think we'll just talk about all of this stuff while we're here. Um, there's the Force drain art, and here's something very interesting. I'm curious about your thoughts on. Is Kylo gets a new mask because his face gets kind of fucked up.
yeah. Um, I don't know. I like it's okay. So like, I mean, I guess I don't know. I'm one of the few people again that like I know people are like, oh, they just brought his mask back in the Rise of Skywalker because JJ was like, I just want to have his mask back again. And like, I feel like it kind of serves character purpose in that movie to an extent because Kylo's like, oh, like fuck what Snoke like was like how he treated me, and like I'm gonna do this because I like doing this, like so I like that. And like in here, there's like a very logical like he got injured, he needs his mask again thing, which like I guess makes sense. But then it also plays into the whole like holocron thing of it just directly attacking him, which like to my knowledge, I've never seen any holocrons do that in canon. They normally just like don't work for people they're not supposed to work for, as opposed to like physically harming them. Which then again, it's a Sith holocron, so like, well, I'll give it
But that
suspension of it.
also means that Sith holocron has stronger Force lightning than Snoke did.
Yeah, that's true. So like, what the fuck? It's Palpatine, so I
I
guess.
mean, yeah, so
Um,
right, but they're both apparently both of them are Palpatine.
um, so oh yeah, you're right there. Fuck! It doesn't work. I don't know. I think that I just don't really care that much. I think that like narratively it makes sense. Like he got injured. It draws a cool parallel to Vader. He gets the like breathing thing that's apparently different from
Yeah, that's
Vader's,
the thing I quite liked is
which like
the
is
idea that
cool.
his breathing. I mean, I've got the exact quote up here. It's different,
It's more
guttural.
guttural.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a cool. I really want to hear that just to see what
Yeah.
they would have done, even if I didn't get it. Because I'm with you. I don't mind that Kylo's helmet comes back. I think it makes sense from a character perspective,
Yeah.
and they reforge it, and it's an iconic design, so you probably don't want to
Oh.
change it. But I am always for just new stuff. So in Rise of Skywalker, if they just said, "Oh, he made a new one and it looks more like Vader," I'd probably be fine with that too. And if it's got like a breathing noise that's just like fucking Kevin Conroy Batman breathing, like I'd be like, okay,
I
that's
think it
pretty.
would have been really cool if they made his helmet design closer to like the original concept art for
Yeah, the
Vader's
Ralph
helmet
McQuarrie
design.
Vader.
Yeah, yeah, that's
That's
his
the
name.
way
I
to
couldn't
go. See
couldn't
this,
remember the
you make
artist.
the film, man.
Like if they made his helmet like that Vader helmet design, that would be so fucking cool. So yeah, like I like his helmet coming back no matter what like shape it takes really. And so like I'm fine with it here. I do like that like him having a similar like injury to Vader and him having like we just said like the guttural breathing is pretty cool. Um, well yeah, it's I don't know, it's something that I'm not like super like passionate about, I guess, in this script. I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool. Like, but yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. I do think it's like that they make a point to where he's not, which it's important that he's not as injured, obviously, as Vader was. It's mainly just his like face thing, and like
Hmm.
he's kind of going through it for a second whenever he's like having to be cared for, which
Yeah, that's
that
weird.
I kind of don't like because like that goes fundamentally against what you're trying to establish with him in this movie. Like you're trying to establish that he is like on his way to becoming the most powerful being
And
in the
yeah, he gets
galaxy,
one
and
shot
like
by a
now he's on a
holocron at the start of the
now he's on a
film.
fucking stretcher for a minute, and like they're having to take care of him. I'm kind of like, okay, I
And that's
guess.
in both drafts, and it's even weirder in the second one because apparently these like kindly creatures look after him, and they're like supposed to be really cute, and they were going to be that movie's porgs. I'm just like,
Oh,
what the
dude,
fuck is
no,
this?
no,
This is
that
completely
does,
tonally different than what you're trying to get across with Kylo. The rest of the entire film is being taken
yeah,
care of by the Care Bears.
yeah,
Like,
that doesn't work at all.
but one other thing while we're with Kylo on this planet that would have been probably the scene everyone would have talked about for years to come
Hmm.
is
Yeah.
Kylo Ren goes into a cave and he fights Darth Vader.
Dude, okay. There you go. Yeah, that's the reason this movie should have been made. I'll say it. Like, I mean, like, how can you like hear that and be like, no, don't want to see that? Like that, yeah. I don't know how you can not love that as just a concept, an idea to like see, and especially because it's the Luke fighting Vader in the Dagobah caves scene, but with Kylo, and like just imagine that now, like
Hmm.
with the technology and how we
Rogue One Vader in a lightsaber fight.
yeah, with Kylo Ren. Oh, and like obviously it's a script, so like they're not gonna fucking choreograph it in the script.
Uh huh.
But like the way that they just like the couple lines that they give it, I'm like, man, like this would have been so fucking cool. Like I absolutely would have lost it seeing that. Um, so yeah, I love that. That's probably the biggest like pro for his entire time on this planet.
Yeah,
Is like
exactly. It's just
that
you.
is
You could have just took all of this other stuff out off. Say he learned how to force drain in the gap between
from
the
a
two films.
holocron. Oh yeah, or from a gap between films. That'd be good too.
Or yeah, the hot
Even
like,
better.
because Ray learns how to force heal from the gap between films. That's a really great moment in the Rise of Skywalker. You give them
Oh,
both that as
100%.
Ray learn how to force heal and Kylo learn how to force drain.
Oh, get the contract. It's like you were saying earlier. Between these two films, you
Is
get
the
the
perfect
first film.
version, right? It's actually insane. They had them both, and they didn't
they,
fucking realize
they
this.
they had it. It was right there.
We were this close to greatness.
They were on the verge. Yeah. Oh
But yeah, so Kylo fighting Vader, like you said, I'm not gonna you. It became my inner fanboy and just spoke aloud what I was thinking.
man.
It's
Yeah.
just
Like,
dope. It's just
how do you
dope.
not love that? Yeah.
But other than that, just the idea that all could have just been set on that Mustafar scene. Could have just had him. Imagine, because then
Yeah.
you start with
Oh,
Luke and he goes deeper and then he sees Vader. So you get to see Kylo Ren confronting all the Skywalkers. And
and like
then,
in Vader's castle too. Like, come
that would have been the best.
on.
That would have been the best. But, and then you just, after
Oh,
that, you just cut that out and then you can have him do, you can have, then that's when you get him, he's on a Coruscant and then he kind of makes his speech and you get to see how Kylo Ren deals with like Hux and stuff and you get more scenes with them rather than this fucker who's barely in the film or like, kind of with Knights of Ren maybe more like anything but Tor
he's
Valum.
literally just like a dialogue thing, which like I do like. Okay, I kind of like the way that he talks about the Force. I will say, and
But you
like
can give that to like Luke.
yeah, but like Luke doesn't like Luke wouldn't speak about it in the same way that this dude does. This dude's a lot more like cynical and like oh shit's like more grand than like you realize kind of, you know? Like
Maybe.
he's like the dark side equivalent to like how Luke speaks about the Force
That's
in the
definitely what they're
script.
trying to get across like thematically is like Luke's with the Rey and this guy's with
Yeah.
Kylo. But Luke's with
But you
both
don't
of
have
them.
any of the context with this Tar whatever the
Yeah,
fuck
there's
dude
no
that you do
emotional
for
weight. Like
yeah.
imagine if it was fucking Palpatine's spirit instead,
Yeah.
or like Palpatine's holocron that he just keeps
Yeah.
around, and then you don't have to, and then he destroys it at the end. So then you get the reason why there's no fight is because it's not really Palpatine, but you get that
Yeah.
Ian McDiarmid reprising his role, talking to Adam Driver, and you get some great scenes, but without the controversy that so many people had of like bringing Palpatine back.
Yeah, because honestly, one of the best scenes in The Rise of Skywalker is that opening scene
Yeah,
whenever Adam Driver and Ian McDermott are like actually interacting with each other and like not trying to kill each other. Like that shit is really, really good. So yeah, you could still like have that here, but in Vader's cast, oh dude,
it's just
it
that.
was it was all there. It was all there. Like just a few tweaks and we could have had it. But
But without that, back to the resistance, and I think we're gonna keep this energy because there is something that happens next. Is Rey is kind of annoyed with the Jedi, and someone comes to confront her and kind of console her. Someone who's gonna keep trying to do this entire film, and
dude,
setting up the next big Star Wars romance that will
dude,
surely be live on in the hearts and minds of us all. Is that is Poe and Rey.
dude. Oh no, not a fan. I
Is
fucking
it
hate
bad to say like
this.
physically cringed every time I read
Yes,
this?
dude, it was so fucking bad. I hated it. I hated it so as angry as I just was about all of that Tor Valum stuff. I hated this so much more. It just I feel like it's so out of place for both. Like it's a gross mischaracterization of both of them. Like
In the third fucking film.
Yeah, it just is out of nowhere. I don't think it works for either of them. Like neither of them, I feel like felt that way about each other at all.
Because they
I
didn't
don't.
meet.
Yeah, dude, they didn't fucking meet. Like, oh my god, and like Poe, like one, Poe is not the character, like the type of character to like pine over someone.
Poe's
You know?
written really different in this film.
Yeah, like like it takes all urgency away from him. Like his entire character in this movie is just based on Rey, which is not how Poe is in the other two movies, and not how Poe should be. It does not work for him. Don't think that Rey like it doesn't work for either of them to me at all. I don't like it. I fucking hate it. Literally every time I read it in the script, I was like, why are they doing this? Why are they trying to make this happen? No, no, thank you. Please no. Dear God, no. Like I don't like Rey and Finn either, but I would fucking take that over this any day of the
Because
week.
at least
Like
there's some setup to that, right?
yeah,
At least
like
you get to
they
see that they have
experienced
they're like best friends. They're really close with each other, and they've been on this incredible journey with each other.
yeah,
But
but like
Poe and Rey just met, and that's why I quite like in Rise of Skywalker, because you immediately kind of get that they're the ones who are kind of on edge with each other, because they're not really sure where they stand with each other yet. And Finn kind of
yeah,
has to be the go-between. That's a good dynamic. Whereas you get this, and I think this is the problem with both films, and it just screams, we wouldn't allow Poe to be gay.
yeah, which is bullshit. One, and I know Oscar Isaac fucking hates that, which is
Exactly
so
right.
funny.
When the
'Cause
actor
if you-
himself says this, just fucking
yeah,
listen to him. Why
yeah,
not?
dude. Everyone wanted it to happen. I have not seen. I mean, like I don't want to get into like the people who like don't want it to happen because that's a whole other fucking rant. But like, yeah, like he wanted it to like him and John Boyega both so badly wanted Finn Poe to be a thing because it should have been a fucking thing. It should have, and like just it felt so like in the script him going after Rey and just like wanting that like it felt so forced and unnatural, and I was just like, oh my god, can I just get to the next part, please, dear God?
Yeah,
Like,
it's the lines and
uh,
stuff like that. They do the thing that's always kind of in movies when it's like the hiding. It's like, oh,
oh my
kiss
god,
me.
it's the Winter Soldier scene with Natasha and Steve. That's all I could think about whenever this happened.
Uh-huh.
Like,
But at least
whenever
with
that
that,
scene,
you get it. It's in Natasha's character to do that.
yeah, like it
Throw
makes
her down
sense for
the
her to do
tube.
that.
She's way too awkward.
No,
she couldn't look at
there's
Kylo Ren
also
shirtless.
like like how the fuck are you gonna like that would be the first on-screen kiss that Rey has like in the movies, and you're doing it so that she can like hide them from some stormtroopers when up until this point she's been like, I'm gonna fight everyone on sight. Like that doesn't even make sense for her characterization in this script.
She's
Like,
always killing people.
oh no, it's bad. I do not like it. Like
Yeah, and I
not at
feel
all.
like that kind of leads into while we're on the characterization of people in here, because there is one part. No, actually, I'm gonna save it because it's something I think will be in a happier time. But yeah, Poe in this is just really weird. He's Poe in Rise of Skywalker is honestly one of my favorite things. I love Poe's arc in Rise of Skywalker. He's got some of the best moments, like that scene where he's in the couplet and he's just like, "I'm sorry,
I'm sorry.
everyone."
Oh, right in the
heart.
heart.
Legit,
Yeah, dude,
it's just
it's
so good.
He's like, I thought we had this. Like, I'm fucking sorry. I don't like that. Yeah, that's really good. And like you said a minute ago too, like the like one of my favorite parts is at the very beginning, like the back and forth between him and Rey after he gets back from light speed skipping, which is fucking awesome, by the way. And the Rise of Skywalker, and they're like bickering back and forth. Like that's great, and that makes sense for both of them. Or them kissing, not so much.
Not so
Like,
much, especially later on, where there's a mind trick kiss, which kind of has a lot of weird. It makes that line in Rise of Skywalker where they're like, "Does she do this to us?" Really funnier in context.
yeah. Oh my god, it's just. Oh yeah.
That is
I'm
the
not a fan.
grossest way you could ever ruin a Jedi power for someone. I've just like here it was used to make someone kiss. Like, what the fuck?
No, don't like it. Do not like it. Not
Do
a
not
fan.
want. But yeah, apart from that, the Resistance basically split off into groups like they kind of do in Rise of Skywalker set. Instead of one consolidated group, it's two groups with Rey and Poe and Finn and Rose. And Rey basically doesn't really do much. She kind of just goes on a bit of an adventure where she finds basically what they find in Rise of Skywalker, where they get like the idea for the Wayfinders. They find that equivalent in this film of how to get to Mortis. Whereas that's kind of I'm not really feeling it. There's some cool stuff with Knights of Ren, but with Finn and Rose is where the fucking best part of this movie starts happening, where Finn and Rose basically go to Coruscant and they begin the revolution.
Oh, it's so epic. It, yeah, that whole like just that idea one is just gold, and like seeing that happen would be so cool. One, going back to Coruscant would just be awesome. Seeing like the other side of Coruscant, because they're very much they're more so on like not the they're not I mean they go to the Jedi temple, but it's like completely like dilapidated and everything, but like also just seeing like the ground levels of like Coruscant and like how it is, and especially how it is under like first order control would be really cool to see. But yeah, just the fact that they like straight up like start a revolution, and like Finn gets a like I really like Finn's character arc in the Rise of Skywalker, but like this especially is just like in this film is so fitting for his character. Just the fact that he literally like takes it full circle and like starts an entire revolution amongst the first order like stormtroopers. Like that's just so fucking cool. That's such a golden concept, and like seeing him do that. And I like too how it's like kind of gradual thing, like as the third act goes on. Like it's not like an instantaneous like, oh, now he's got everyone behind him. Like he has the conversation with the one stormtrooper and like knocks like gets him out of it, which he actually had one like in the opening sequence whenever he sees a stormtrooper that
Yes.
like he knew, which is a really cool character moment. It's a very big character moment that ties back to like whenever we first met him in The Force Awakens, which I think is really great. But then that carries over into the third act whenever he, comes into contact with these new stormtroopers, and he's like trying to like make them realize that like this is not what they signed up for. Like it's not good. This is not the morally right thing to do. Like
Mm-hmm.
him getting to that one leads the domino effect, just leads to them having support to be able to, yeah, like you said, just start the revolution on Coruscant, which is just fucking awesome. It's just a really cool idea, and seeing the concept art that we see from it is just awesome.
Let me get
And
that
yeah,
up.
I love like everything about that. Honestly, like that final battle is so cool, just in concept, and it would have been really cool to see that executed. I think
Mm-hmm. Like
it's great.
there's great
And then
visual stuff here where there's like the AT-ATs that they kind of remodel are all painted different colors.
yeah,
Um, oh man, all of this is so good.
like that. I love the it's before that, like before the revolution starts, but whenever him and Rose are like in the Jedi temple and like doing stuff, trying to, because again they're trying to get to the transmitter. That's not what they call it, I don't think,
It's
but
like an
like
old Jedi device that was linked
It's
to
an old
different
Republic
planets.
thing,
Yeah.
which is awesome. Again, the old Republic stuff that they're like trying to get to so they can send the message to the entire galaxy. Like I think it would have been really cool seeing the Jedi Temple post its like destruction, not like destruction because it's obviously still standing, but like it not in its pristine shape.
How
Uh,
does it look 50 years on?
yeah, exactly. When like no one gives a shit about it, like that's really cool. So yeah, just all the stuff on Coruscant, I think, is great in this script, and would have been really cool to see.
I'm actually gonna
Like,
just read the Finn scene just because it is my favorite moment in this entire script. If there's one thing I can keep from this that I'm allowed to inject into Rise of Skywalker is Finn. Is everything about Finn in this film is just fucking gold, and
yeah,
it's like Poe isn't that good in this, but he's great in Rise of Skywalker. Finn isn't that good at Rise of Skywalker to me, but he's great in this. So like, it's and
again, like
both reasons why they're not good is because they've written him as simping over Rey for some reason.
yeah,
But yeah, I'm just gonna read it just because it's so good. So like for context, Finn's just taken down a stormtrooper and he's got his gun on him. And Finn says, "What do you remember? How far back?" The stormtrooper says, "Huh, Finn, do you remember where you were? Taken? Remember your parents?" The stormtrooper says, I don't know. Finn, yeah, you do. You remember everything. Conditioning camp. blind fires the stormtrooper. It was training. Finn, that's what they tell you. Finn's face finds the light. RK-514 recognizes him. You're him, the traitor. Finn, that's right. We're brothers, all of us. Finn tosses the stormtrooper's helmet out of reach. Give me a comm link. RK-514 hands him the first order comm. Finn, it's not what they said it would be, is it? The things we were ordered to do. It's not right. RK-51 takes that in. Torn, breaking. You have a name once. Do you remember it? He shakes his head. No. Finn, get a name. That's the first step. I'm just like, oh!
Oh, all of it is so good. There's multiple direct callbacks to like The Force Awakens, which is great. And like, yeah, it's just so good. That's perfect.
Just such good stuff. That just makes not just Finn's arc, but the arc of the clone troopers to the stormtroopers to this have something. Is the first thing that made the Clone Wars different is when the clone troopers started giving them each other names. And that's what helped fucking Fives and everyone, Captain Rex, they managed to try and break free of what they were doomed to do, some more successfully than others. You get the stormtroopers and they cut that shit out, and that's why the stormtroopers are like, and they deliberately go for the people who aren't good enough to do that. First Order deliberately starts going for stronger people once again. And it's like the Force is acting. There's a lot of this in Rise of Skywalker as well, which I will give it credit. I think it needed more of these direct scenes with Finn talking to people, because the idea of that the stormtroopers abandoned Rise of Skywalker was great, but it needed to be Finn being the one who makes them abandon, not just they also abandon. It's like the Force is giving them a chance to fight back, be the people again. So again, the idea that find a name is so important in the sequel trilogy for not just Rey, it's for Kylo, it's for everyone involved. It's just that the importance of having a name and how that gives you
just an identity. Yeah.
But that you can choose it. And I think if this scene was in Rise of Skywalker, it'd be so good. Because at the end, when Rey says Rey Skywalker, she's fucking following Finn's lesson as well. She's choosing her name. Like, all of that is just, it annoys me so much that this was on a Lucasfilm desk and they weren't just like, okay, fuck this, but can we please keep this scene?
Right?
Like,
no, it's so perfect. And like, he goes, like, you're the traitor, which like, meme injected, so good. And then also, just the fact that like find a name, like that's the first step, and like that's the first thing that Poe did with Finn. He's like, "What's your name?" He's like, FN2187. He's like, "Oh, fuck that! Like you're Finn." And so like, just passing that lesson on, and like, it's all so good.
Mm-hmm. It really is just the best.
And
then Rose gets some great stuff where she's the one who figures out how to make the beacon work, and Rose has some great lines in this. Like, there's the moment where, like, at the start, where like they're escorting some First Order officers off the ship they stole. She fucking takes one of their like badges and she's like, "Can I borrow this? I collect these." That's like a fucking bounty hunter level stuff. And Rose then gets captured, and she like tasers and escapes. But there's also the moment where like Hux is trying to interrogate her, and Rose just fucking plays him like a fiddle because he tries doing the Kylo Ren mind read on her.
Trick. And
she's just like, "Oh, you're not special." And like,
she's like, "Are you trying to use the Force on me?" Like, she's like, "What the fuck is this?" Like,
that would be really weird.
the other line that I like, it's the beginning of that scene. Hux is like, "Are you comfortable?" And she's like, "Yeah, I have one of these at home."
That's
like,
just such a power move.
That's so funny. Like, she's so funny and like has such personality in this, and like just does a lot of shit. She does a lot of cool shit. She's really great throughout the script, which is another huge missed opportunity in The Rise of Skywalker. Which like that's another one of those things that like I'm weird about, because like I do wish that she had a bigger role like in Episode 9, but I don't know what I would do with her in The Rise of Skywalker.
In the Episode 9 we got plot-wise, it makes sense that she's not doing anything there. You would have to rewrite it to get stuff of her in there, which is, again, if you take maybe the structure of this and inject it with the heart and the soul and the themes of Rise of Skywalker, and you swap some things out here and there, mix match, and basically jigsaw puzzle, there you go. there's your trilogy capper for all time. And again, I'm not saying this as someone who was disappointed with episode 9. I fucking loved it, and my Star Wars saga is complete. I'm happy to watch 1 to 9. I love all the Star Wars films. But I
Intellect.
would be lying just as a creative, like, just doing writing and making fucking 10,000 views off just doing what ifs. I can't help but imagine, well, what if we did merge these scripts? So, I don't know, maybe something might come out of that idea on this channel or something and get Alex involved in as well. Just,
Yeah, I was about to say we need to get the Rise of Skywalker script and start mishmashing these two.
throw in some stuff as well. And yeah, but that's all. All the Coruscant stuff is great. The revolution starts, and we enter basically the third act at this point.
Yeah,
Um, what I think is interesting is we've got two major things happening. It's kind of like The Last Jedi, except further apart in distance, where Rey's and Kylo are doing a Force thing, and then the Resistance and Kylo are doing the main thing on Coruscant. What I don't like about how it's handled here is it feels too separate from what's. It feels like Rey's not helping. She's
yeah.
off fucking around with Kylo doing nothing basically. While
I mean, it just feels like one cannot impact the other.
whereas in the Rise of Skywalker, and like again, the Death Star duel kind of has this in Return of the Jedi, but I think it's different because Palpatine's plan for Luke directly hinges on him being able to see outside the window what's happening. Is they're right there with each other, and yes, Luke doesn't stop help the Death Star thing, but his arc is directly connected to it. Whereas Rey really isn't. She's aware of what's happening because there's like a force. It's very similar to the Jedi voices scene, except with Finn, Rose, and Poe. Um,
Yeah,
but just it's just not as effective.
I mean, no, because you don't get all those classic Jedi like doing it. And again, the
Uh-huh.
distance thing is just like you're like, oh, she can hear them, but like, the fuck's she gonna do? Like,
Exactly right. Whereas in Rise of Skywalker, she directly saved them from Palpatine, which is the
yeah.
best. That's the best integrating those two plot points has ever gotten because it's directly Rey has just saved everyone from Palpatine right there, but they've also
Oh,
saved
which
her.
can I say? I love the base Force lightning in the Rise of
Oh,
Skywalker.
it's so good.
It's like whenever that happened, I was like, oh fuck! Like
Chills.
it's so cool. Um,
But yeah, just
yeah,
with one thing I do want to ask you though is while I'm on that because I kind of went on to a point, but with the two scenes we talked about Coruscant, let's talk about this. How do you feel about the fact that we even go to Mortis at all? That Mortis is where this final battle happens. What are your thoughts on that? Because when I first read that, and when I first heard people talking about that, I didn't fucking believe it. Just because it's just so. What? We're doing that? We're doing this in a film? Really? And I'm kind of still in disbelief that I just read Mortis on a Star Wars script. Had how? What are your thoughts?
yeah. I don't know. It's really like it's a fucking weird planet. It's like geography is very odd to me. Like it feels like it doesn't make sense, which I mean, I guess is like kind of the point.
Intentional,
But like,
yeah.
yeah, which is it's intentional. Like it's a very deceiving planet and a very like mindfuck planet for anyone who goes there. We get um, multiple like we get a vision for Kylo and Rey each whenever they're journeying to their destination to duel on this planet. Which those two scenes are actually two of probably my least favorite things in the
Oh
script.
yeah.
Actually,
We'll talk about
I do
that.
not like the Kylo and Han scene here at all. Um, I'll go ahead and say this is one of my hottest Star Wars takes. I don't like Han Solo as a character really in Star Wars. I get a lot of shit for that all the time. Actually, my favorite version of Han Solo is in the Solo movie. I like Alden as Han more than I do Harrison Ford. I know.
Damn.
Yeah. But so like I don't really like the scene with him in the Rise of Skywalker. Thematically, I like it because I love what it does for my boy Kylo. But like the actual scene, I'm like, don't really care because I don't really like Han. Um, the vision thing that Kylo gets here on Mortis, I'm like, whatever. It just feels weird. I
You
don't
know
know.
what's weird about it? Is the Ray one's really weird as well, and it's more damaging to her character, but this one's really weird as well. Because it's so in this version of events, after the whole Luke thing, Kylo went back to his house in full Knights of Ren cosplay, knocked on his door. It's so goofy. just imagining is like, Dad, I'm going to join a rock band now. It's what it is.
Yeah,
And then he says, your mum can't see you like this. I'm just like, it just feels so weird for a Star Wars film to have the scene where Kylo Ren comes back to his doorstep, goffed up, and says, I can't come back now, bye, Dad. And then Han apparently just let him go. Like, all
yeah.
of that just feels so weird. And especially because again, this film wants to paint Kylo Ren as more unredeemable, even if he does kind of get a redemption at the end. Fucking 2 seconds. But so he gets Han to kind of like be like, oh, stay, kind of like the Rise of Skywalker scene, but that's handled so much better because I think JJ just understands Han Solo's. Again, biggest problem with the script seems to be that Colin Trevorrow does not know how to write the OT characters because Han doesn't come off. Even if you don't like Han, it's just not Han here anyway.
Yeah, it's weird. Like I'm reading it right now, and it's just like he like literally says like you have everything you need right here, even though it's very apparent from everything else that we've ever seen and heard that like he was not a good father to Ben, and so like that just doesn't make any fucking sense.
And apparently it was because he was absent, which makes sense.
Yeah,
Apparently
yeah, which
he's
is
just chilling
totally in
at
character.
home.
Yeah, which like yeah, exactly. Han being like absent is totally in character, but him now being just like at home with like Leia, which also doesn't even make sense for Leia because that's not how she was either. She's still very involved with the government and like no, I don't like that scene. um, and then yeah, the Rey one,
Oh
like
god, the Ray one. I
the
think this will just be like so. My big thing with this script that a lot of people seem to be like, because anyone who's checked my Twitter feed knows, Geeks for Fun is one username. My other username is Palpatine Stan. This Palpatine family is just what I stand. I'm all about the Palpatine family agenda. They're all beautiful and we all love them. So the Rey Palpatine thing, probably the most on board with that I've ever seen anyone ever be.
I like it a lot
I know, but
actually.
like I've been making like stand videos and stuff like that,
Oh, so they're
drawing
so funny.
the Rey Palpatine. Like, why don't we get you a real lightsaber, Rey? All of that stuff. So I'm on board with it, but I can when people I am friends with some people who've been like, no, we're not on board with it. I'm like, okay, I can see your points. A lot of people have been pointing to this script. It's like, oh, this script kept Rey nobody. I was waiting for that in this script, and no, she's not Rey nobody. She's Rey was so powerful as a child that fucking Snoke sent Kylo Ren to assassinate and kill her parents to stop baby 6-year-old Rey. And okay, so that's what it's trying to explain what the vision in The Force Awakens was of when
Yeah.
the Knights of Ren are killing everyone, and apparently that's fucking young ass Kylo. Apparently,
Yeah,
he
17-year-old Kylo. Which like okay, dude. So one, you don't need to explain that vision in The Force Awakens. You don't.
it's a
It's just a
vision.
cool yeah, it's just a cool shot, like whatever. And like it just like making Kylo kill Rey's parents does nothing for either character to me. Like it's just the most like I there are a lot of unnecessary things in the script and like I don't know if this is at the top of them, but it's definitely fucking up there. Like I just don't like you're just making a connection that like just does not need to be there. Like Rey already has enough reasons to hate Kylo. Like don't need to like backwards engineer another one that just doesn't really make a whole lot of logical sense for everything that we've seen so far and like it just doesn't add anything really. It's just like, oh yeah, there's another reason that she's mad at him. We didn't really need that in this last 30 minutes of the film.
Exactly
Like
right, and it's one of those
it's
things where my biggest issue with it compared to the Palpatine reveal, because they are both similar things, is
yeah.
they both do remove the "you are nobody" thing, which everyone seems to have universally liked. Is this that Rey being a nobody is a really good thing, and it is still my favorite route they should have stuck with, even though I do really like Palpatine reveal. It's like Rey nobody is something they should just stuck with and kept it, and she's just not special. Just she's the Force. It chose her because of who she was, personality. Doesn't matter anything, and she wasn't destined from a young age either. She recently awakened it. Um, the idea that she was so important that she was targeted from a young age and to be taken out undercuts the Rey nobody thing. It doesn't matter that she hasn't got a surname that other people have. She's even more important because she's the first of a new one that is, again, chosen one level. This is a threat we need to take down straight away.
I
You
mean, yeah,
can't
that
argue that she's not a nobody anymore in this script either.
you can literally draw a direct connection by the fact that like Palpatine recognized that power in like 6-year-old Anakin Skywalker.
Exactly.
Like Anakin was the first like Skywalker. That's literally the same thing. Like Palpatine was like, "Oh shit, that dude's pretty powerful. Like, better get that under control." And then he like sees Rey and he's like, "Oh shit, she's pretty powerful. Better get that under control." Or I guess Snoke, who you brought this up earlier, is not explained at all in this fucking movie.
Just another name. Maybe he's Tor Valum's master. I don't fucking know.
Yeah,
But yeah,
my head hurts.
Rey in this isn't a nobody, but by Rise of Skywalker inserted another thing into its place and say, okay, you thought you were that. This is the worst possible news. How do you deal with that, and how do you forge your own destiny and still remember the lessons you've learned? And made it a character arc and gave her something new we haven't seen in Star Wars before of choosing your family, which is, again, it's not the same message as anyone can be a Jedi, but it's an equally powerful message that people have talked about online of just like, I don't like my birth parents. I don't like the family ring. So the second I could, I chose my own name, and seeing Rey do that was inspiring to me. So for all the shit that Rey Palpatine gets, it did have a fucking meaning. No one in the world is gonna be like, oh yeah, I fucking relate to my parents got assassinated when I was a kid too. That really inspires me, Rey, how angry you got at Kylo for that.
Fucking powerful from 6 years old.
Get out of here.
Yeah, no, doesn't man. I will say, so I don't have a very like emotional attachment to like the changing name thing, but I actually did get my last name legally changed whenever I was 18 because like my last name is Bats, which is fucking awesome, by the way. I love my last name. But I like, it's funny, apparently like whenever I was born on my birth certificate, my last name was like my mother's maiden name. It was Carol, and like my entire life I thought that it was Bats, which is my like father's last name. So I literally had to get it changed whenever I was 18. So like whenever I saw people bringing that up, they're like, no, like I changed my name or whatever. I was like, hey, like I changed my name too, which it wasn't really so much as a,
no, but it's like you get it, right?
Yeah, it wasn't like, oh, like I chose it because I hate like this person or whatever. It was just like, oh, I actually did that kind of. But like, yeah, no, I like that message some. But yeah, like you said, like no one can relate to the like I was too powerful at 6 years old, so my parents had to be killed. Like that doesn't.
And 17-year-old Kylo Ren, who is most vulnerable, and in The Force Awakens was meant to be killing Han, is what takes him on a darker path, was apparently A-okay with innocent people child slaughter, and he just kind of missed Rey, like, or he spared her. But even then, he's just fine leaving on her a desert for all those years to be and then he expects her to be fine with it? Like,
no, and then he also like doesn't know her in The Force Awakens, but he definitely knew that he left her there after he killed her parents, because in the script he very much talks about like, you're welcome for fucking leaving you on Jakku.
He knows her last name,
like,
Rey Salada. She's a Sonic villain.
I just, yeah, that the Kylo killing Rey's parents thing, I don't understand. After I read that in the script, I remembered seeing people like mention that online before the full script like was released or whatever, and I was like, I don't like that, and execution definitely still don't like that. It's I don't agree.
But moving past the visions, when they do meet atop the Tower of Mortis, how do you fight like their final the final lightsaber duel of the saga, their final confrontation, and everything up to that, including like how Ben goes? So this will be the big discussion. Pardon me.
Yeah. Okay, so I like their lightsaber fight just on the basis that I like lightsaber fights, and like I think the back and forth is pretty cool. I think that it's really interesting. Like I like the direction that they take, like Rey getting injured and being blinded, and like Kylo, like I like again, which I loved this moment in The Rise of Skywalker on the Death Star battle, the fact that like Kylo is more powerful than her, like. whenever they engaged in like lightsaber combat. Like he went like I love that in the Rise of Skywalker Death Star battle. Like he just straight up wins. Like he just
Yeah.
beats her. Like he beats her down.
And
Like
it's
I
not
love
like
that.
a power move either. It's very much he starts countering and skillfully outdoors
Yeah.
her.
Like I love that it's not like a sudden like oh like you missed and I got you here. She just like cannot compete. And like I love that in that duel. And like it's like sort of similar here, like not exactly, but like he again like just wins with this. Like this one is more so like what I just said, and like where he just like gets a move and like that's how the duel ends. Like he like cuts her face and she's like blinded and left like defenseless basically, and like he doesn't kill her, which is not very in line with his character in this movie because
Especially
like
because his whole thing has been about I'll kill Rey and be the Darkness. He just leaves her to go
yeah,
fuck
like
off.
which doesn't really make any sense. Like he's just like I she's probably not a threat now. Took out her eyes, like which just doesn't with his understanding of the Force does not make any fucking sense. Um, but so yeah, he like leaves her and then goes to the like well thing that like the answer is supposed to be at, and it's empty. Like of course, which like I don't that part I don't understand really. Like I mean I the message is that like obviously like the darkness is not like it's the darkness ultimately does not reward you. Like I get that and like I like that, but at the same time like it feels empty for the audience as well, which is not good.
Hmm.
Like it's supposed to feel empty for Kylo, but then like as an audience member, you're just kind of like, oh, okay, I guess.
So they literally were
Um,
just fucking around here for no reason while the main fight was
yeah,
going on.
like there's nothing here. Like okay. Um, so that's weird. I like Rey like coming back and like fighting him like blindfolded and
And
using
the
like just
description is like almost 1-to-1 to the scene in Rise of Skywalker, except just not as good. Of like she stands up and then Rey rises and like she forces the lightsaber. And cool image though I do like is like Rey's always wearing arm wraps. She fucking ties them around. She's like Daredevil season 1. Like I like that.
yeah.
That's cool.
Oh yeah,
Um,
definitely.
but the idea that she rises up to fight isn't as good when you have fucking Qui-Gon Jinn in the background and Ahsoka and all of it. It's just like you can't match that. That's just
Oh
without
yeah,
that, it's just not as good. It's like Rey
you
comes up, she beats Kylo. Oh, well, actually, she's about to. Kylo again, fucking victory in this movie.
yeah.
Starts force draining her and is about to kill her, and then the weirdest thing in the film happens that feels like such an afterthought, especially with how this is like commit. So he's force draining Rey, and she says Ben, and then Leia says Ben, and then Kylo hears Leia's voice, and that instantly makes him change a heart, and he gives all of his life to Rey, and he dies.
Yeah, which like
And it's
what
super fucking quick and
yeah,
super fucking jarring. It would be
I
like if in Rise of Skywalker, where he hears Leia's voice say Ben and he stops, if he dropped down to his knees and just kissed Rey and died at that point in the film.
yeah,
It'd just be
like
weird.
the reason that the like Leia reaching out to him in the Rise of Skywalker and that duel like works is because like one, it's not the climax of everything.
Hmm.
Like her saying Ben is just enough to shock him,
It's
which
what
is like
gets
what
him
it
on the line of thought to getting to where he needs to be. And you see him sitting and contemplating it.
yeah, exactly. Like and then Rey even like comes in afterwards and she's like, I did want to take your hand, like Ben's hand, so that like puts him further on that path.
Hmm.
But like here it just like automatically flips him and he's like, well, I'm gonna sacrifice myself now, even though I spent this entire movie trying to figure out how to drain the life force from entire
And
planets and
apparently
rule the
I'm
galaxy
so
with
good
an
at
iron
it that I
fist.
could just give her what I took back, but now I gotta give her all of it, including my own.
Yeah, it just like it's weird. I will say I like I'm trying to find it because there's one line like the okay, so like um he says like Solana and he's like your name Ray Solana, like those are Ben Solo's last words. And then I like the line after that where it says Ray watches the light dim in his eyes, but it is the light. Like that's a good line.
But
That
that's
goes
not in the
back.
film though, is that's just good script writing.
Yeah, that's very true. That's not yeah, it's not a line of dialogue. That's just yeah, that's good. Like that's what that like means, which is like good. But yeah, it's just so like It literally, it's one page. Like it's a one-page turn where like Leia says Ben, and then the next page, and like the only reason it's a full page is because we get like interior descriptions and stuff, and it's like Kylo hearing his mother's voice, he stops, feels her, something happens when he rehears it, and then like he just completely changes, and by the end of the page, he's dead. Like it's a one script page, complete character turnaround from everything the last like 2.5 hours have told us about Kylo Ren. Like,
Especially because this film has been on the track that he is the main villain. He is the dude. He's the most powerful Sith we've ever seen. He's now stronger than... He's going to be stronger than Anakin. He's going to be stronger than everyone. He's unstoppable. He's the supreme leader. He's got a new scary mask. He's fucked up face. Everything about him is... That's been the Ben Solo you knew, who was nervous and kind of insecure and needed Rey and was like begging Rey to join him at the end of Last Jedi, and kind of this pathetic, sympathetic figure. He's gone. He's just a badass Kylo Ren villain now. And that's okay. That's not the direction I would have gone. But like you said, if you want to go that direction, just do that. Commit. Make Kylo Ren's tragedy be the fact that he could have been the best of us, but he became worse than Vader ever could be. He became the ultimate villain, and that's why Rey has to come and be the light. But no, you really just fucking ruined what you built up with that too, but you didn't fulfill the redemption arc, so no one's happy.
Yeah, it's just so weird, and like, yeah, it's just a fucking complete 180, and I just don't like it. Like, it feels so counter to what this film was trying to do, and like, I don't know. And then you get after that, like, I kind of like the thing with Rey and like talking to Yoda and Luke and Obi-Wan.
I don't like it. Let me get up the picture.
You don't like it?
I don't
the
like
astral.
it.
I think it's very weird that they should have just say the astral plane. I was like, okay, Doctor Strange,
right?
I mean, like, I don't know. Like, it's cool that she gets a conversation with them, but it's I don't know. It goes into what you were talking about earlier, where they explain too much, like. Because she straight up is like, is this death? And he's like, in this place, there's no such thing as death. And he's like, this is your true self, like free of pain. Like, you can stay here if you like. Also, like giving her like the choice, I feel like is kind of cheating. Like, they're like, well, you can die or you can go back. And I'm like, all right, well, I mean, like, who's gonna choose to like die?
If she
like,
chose to die when fucking Kylo sacrifices even later, it's just like,
yeah, like,
what did he even
like,
do
oh,
there?
they both die by the end of the movie. Like, all right, I guess. Like, it's weird.
What I don't like about it is, I guess, 3 things. I'm gonna list them off.
It's such a short scene, and you're like, oh, 3 things. Fuck it. Like,
because it fucks with so much. Okay, I'm gonna lay down this. So number 3, which is maybe the least thing, is it just doesn't make sense that again, fucking where's Anakin?
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Where's Anakin in any of these scripts? I don't understand how this Hayden Christensen is fucking turning up for Star Wars celebrations and Disneyland events. You've got him. I don't understand where no one had the balls in a first draft just to write Anakin Skywalker high. So at least fucking JJ got him to say something. I still would have liked him. The place you put Anakin is you put him in Han's place in that film. And that's that scene is Anakin's Force Ghost is the one who comes up and talks to Kylo.
Do you know how much better that would have fucking been? I don't want for him to be like, I was wrong. Like, you're worshipping the wrong part of. Oh, dude, fuck! I'm so mad that didn't happen. Okay.
But
keep going with your points.
But so Anakin should have done that in that film, and that's one of the big things with Rise of Skywalker I'm annoyed at, is just like Harrison Ford and Adam Driver had a great scene, but we've already seen how he reacted to Han. We've already seen how he reacted to Luke. We've already seen how he reacted to Leia. The only thing that can make Kylo Ren change is a new influence, and the person he respects the most, Anakin, the chosen one. We get that, and that's that film. Oh, gorgeous. But I'm at least he's in it. This, you're in the astral plane, and Obi-Wan is chilling there, Yoda's chilling there, and Luke's chilling there, but the fucking chosen one is just not.
Yeah, that's weird.
But second, I really, really think it's weird how just the idea that becoming a Force ghost sends you into like a different world, whereas this Force is explained as it's created by living things and it is the world. The Force is the air, it is the trees. It's not a different dimension. It's not like Doctor Strange. It is
Yeah.
life, right? It is you. That's why the rest of the film been fine with that because you see when Luke disappears, it says in the script notes like a gust of the wind. Right? Is that's how you
Yeah.
describe a Force ghost? Is they are part of the world and they appear when the Force wills them to appear. The fact that they're hanging out in like heaven just feels like it's a different franchise.
Yeah.
But those two are the nitpicks. The Anakin one more, so I probably should have listed that one second. But the main issue I have with this scene is why the fuck? What in this entire film has Rey done to justify Yoda saying, "No, we were wrong, you're right"? All she's done is got angry and killed
Slaughter a bunch of
people.
people.
All she's done is got angry, give into her emotions, and get fucking wrecked by Kylo Ren, and then killed. She hasn't shown another way, a different path. She's just failed at being a Jedi and looked through it. And this is like a slate against Rey because I know it sounds like that, but I fucking love Rey's arc in The Rise of Skywalker. She's in how Rey is in The Rise of Skywalker is my favorite of all three films she's been in, and I like Rey in every single film she's been. She's one of my favorite characters in Star Wars. But how she's treated in this is just insult to that character because it takes her agency away by making her this grey Jedi proxy, but without any of the argument that say a Revan would have. When Revan talks about it, he talks about it practically, right? He makes arguments, and in his actions, he shows what it would be like. Rey in this film isn't doing grey Jedi shit. She's just doing a Jedi who's bad at being a Jedi shit. And then Yoda, who in Last Jedi we see give the best reason, like they are who we grow beyond, saying, "Oh yeah, every lesson I said at Empire Strikes Back is wrong."
Yeah.
Fuck that scene, man.
No, yeah, now
I
I
hate
really
it.
dislike this. You broke it down really well, and yeah, it just fucking work. It's not good.
It's not good. I don't like it, and it doesn't. It's just not there. But on positive, because that kind of wraps up the Force stuff. Back to because this again, if we're cutting, it's because the film itself is cutting between these two things, and it's better just for us to talk about one segment individually. So how the Coruscant stuff ends is Leia sent out a message to the universe with the beacon that Rose did, and that's the scene I was talking about. That's a really cool moment for Leia to get that moment to do help me Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're my only hope, but to
To the
everyone.
entire Yeah, to the
That's
entire
great,
galaxy.
right? That's fantastic. Sadly, we can never get that scene done because Carrie Fisher wouldn't be able to record it. But in concept, that's the route you should have taken Leia more so in this film. But that's good. That gets cut out. So then Luke has to do that, and Luke gets a really good moment in this as well, where he recites Obi-Wan's speech to the entire galaxy and says the Force is connected to everyone and that everyone is Force sensitive. It's just some people are better than others. I think that's a great idea. I think because you get to see like Poe, Finn, Rose, everyone hears Luke speak, and it's meant to be around the entire galaxy, and that gives the Resistance that chance to fight. Those are two really great ideas that I like. The other stuff that's going on right now is we kind of get the fake out death of R2, where in Rise of Skywalker we've got the fake out death of C-3PO.
Yeah, yeah, I like R2s a lot more than 3POs.
Yeah, it's not played for laughs as much.
Yeah, and it's very very emotional, and you're like, fuck, like they just maybe killed R2 like that, which is
Let me
oh
get
yeah,
the
that
concept
hurts.
art for that
And like
because
you see through like that one's a lot more impactful because like R2 is not with them in the Rise of Skywalker when 3PO goes away, but like 3PO reacts to like R2's death in this, and like that you're like, oh shit, like this is getting to 3PO who like doesn't show like a lot of like emotion like that,
mm-hmm.
and so that's a very strong thing to like see. I also, speaking of the droids, love and like would have loved to see the shot like after R2 gets like fucked up and they have to grab his memory drive and put it in BB-8. How like it goes to BB-8, and like they describe literally like a oner basically of like BB-8 rolling through the battlefield and like having the memory and like needing to deliver it. I think that would have been like
Like
really
something
cool.
from
And, like,
1970.
yeah, like that's such a BB-8, like that's his moment, which is just awesome. One of my favorite things in like all of the movies is actually like paying attention to BB-8 and like what he does like on screen whenever he's like going like in the Rise of Skywalker, when they're on one of the Star Destroyers and like after they throw the explosives in the like hole and it like blows up, like he like part of the explosion like raises the floor, and like the way that he like bounces off of it is like really funny to me. And just like watching him is entertaining. So like having a wonder of him like going through the battlefield having to deliver this message is just like, I love that concept a lot. So I really liked that part.
Mm-hmm. I
Yeah.
feel the Coruscant stuff here. All the non-Force stuff in this film, there's some stuff that doesn't work, but is genuinely really strong. And that's why
Yeah.
I feel the strengths of Trevorrow really shine compared to this. I feel like the Force stuff is a little bit more shaky. Um, but yeah, like Finn's Revolution and everything that we mentioned before. But when I have to mention it because it's the most iconic thing from this script, and it's going to be renowned in Star Wars history forever, is when Hux realizes he lost the Star Wars.
Oh yeah, that line. Oh my god, it's I can't believe they actually that line in the script. It's so funny. Hugs
I'm fucking dead.
I read that and I was like, "Are you?" Like, I looked to the person that doesn't exist to my side, and I was like, "Are you fucking serious?" Like, the Hux lost to the Star Wars. They should have actually like, if they made this movie, had that just the text pop up on screen,
uh,
like, and not just break all
like
pretenses
as
of
he's fucking
anything.
stabbing himself with a lightsaber, it just pops up on screen.
Just straight up like meme status, just like Hux lost the Star Wars. Like,
I would have died so hard. But again, that's the given you liked Hux's things. What? How did you feel about his end? His fucking
uh,
dark ass
I mean,
suicide.
I see, like, I don't. Okay, it's weird because like I like it because, as I said at the beginning, I love dark shit, and that's a very like dark way for his character to go. But I also don't really know that it makes sense for his character in this script because like he the entire time has been very like headstrong kind of, and like I don't know if really like, I mean, I guess maybe Rose just really got to him, which like, which again, like I just even saying that, it feels like it doesn't go in character with how he is in the script. I think visually I know we have the concept art. I don't know if you like
I've got it up.
have it like handy, but like there's the concept art of him doing that, which is like an extremely striking image. So like seeing it, I think would have been cool, but it's another one of those things that in this movie, I don't know that it fits with what's been established. Um, so yeah, I don't know. It's weird. I mean, like you have to get rid of him some way, but and yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. I
I
feel
think
like
it'd
it's
been
probably
good if
the
you let, like, I don't know, Poe take him out or something. I think that would have been cool to show that Poe is the new
yeah
Resistance leader, taking out the Chancellor. That could be in a cool way. Like maybe Poe, maybe Hux tries to escape in a ship, and then Poe like takes him out in a dogfight. That could have been a cool way to go because I feel like that would fit his character more of like him being taken out because he flees. Because Hux is a coward. He's the
yeah.
sniveling Starscream type. He's the weasel, and that's kind of his appeal, right? Even this, he's still kind of not really taking charge and commanding people. He's got that weaselly vibe to him. It He wouldn't be brave enough to kill himself. He was not
Oh,
honorable
absolutely
enough
not. Yeah.
to take that vow. It's just not him. He just fucking maybe he'd look to the side and tell, all right, we're all gonna do this at the same time, right, guys? Ha!
Yeah.
Run. Like,
Yeah, exactly. Like I feel like this is one of those things where Trevor was just like wanted to be fucking cool. If
like that would be a
like
great death for like someone like Thrawn.
yeah, but it just yeah, I don't know. I don't think it fits for Hux.
It
It's
doesn't
cool
fit for Hux.
visual,
It's great,
but
stunning art, like I mentioned, just up on screen.
yeah,
It is absolutely fantastical. Uh,
yeah.
but
Oh,
other than
once
Hux, again, carry on.
like before we get more into it, one thing that I did really like, which like you can only go so far with this in the script, just because of the nature of how scripts are and filmmaking is. I think that all of the like ship action and like the chase things in this sounded really exciting. Um, like the one I don't remember exactly which part it is. I think it's towards the beginning, but like whenever part of like a planet gets blown into space and there's like a frozen waterfall
Yeah.
like in space that they have to like go through, like that sounded really cool. The one planet that Rey and Poe go to where they're on like the water speeder thing, like that all sounded really cool. The art of that planet looked really cool too.
They're getting
And then we
chased
mentioned,
down by the Knights of Ren constantly, which is something that
y-
Tross could have done more of to show us, because they were kind of sneaking around most of the time. But this film
yeah,
had a lot more of just like the Knights of Ren are on their tail and they have to keep going. And you see like
yeah,
Rey having to like push them back, and she kills a few, but then the others come after her. Like all of that stuff is fantastic.
yeah, it's really, really good. Like all of that action definitely sounded great. And like we mentioned, they probably visit too many planets in this, but I like that said, all the planets did sound really cool,
Hmm.
and like the art that we see from them, I think looks really cool. But yeah, so I liked all of those touches. Um, it's just like the execution of all of them together. I'm not as certain about, but
Hmm. So
yeah, I
with the
like.
Resistant winning, all of that stuff kind of wraps up rather neatly, considering how the First Order has basically been the new Empire. But again, I guess you could Return of the Jedi has that same thing as well. It's the main reason has been beaten, and the books and stuff can deal with the fallout if it needs to be. Right, like that's not you need just a catharsis victory. You don't need to worry
Yeah,
about
exactly.
the thing. So I'm fine with that, and we get to see kind of the ending closing thing of Poe still got the crush on Rey and he wants to go find her. So he goes off with Chewie to go look for Rey. R2 gets his memories back in a really
Hmm.
cool. I really wondered how they would have done this. Because it says
Okay.
R2 would have seen images from Star Wars from his POV. So you would have been R2 eye level watching these iconic scenes play. I have no idea how they would have done that.
Yeah. Oh, that would have been epic though.
It would have been
It
epic
would
if
have
they
been.
pulled it off, but that would
Yeah.
have been like they would have needed to do that Leia Luke training scene 5 times.
Yeah, which like that would have been cool. Fuck. What, oh, I had something. I will say that like this, the like, they like kind of try a like fake out thing with like Ray being gone for like it would be like 5 minutes in the movie probably, but like where they're like because they have Ray or not Ray, they have like Finn and like Rose and Poe be like, oh, I can't feel her, but like in the conversation that Ray has with like Yoda and Obi-Wan and stuff, they're like, oh, if you choose like whatever, like it'll be this. And they're like, but living you will be. And then Ray says like, thank you. So like, well, obviously she's gonna choose to like go back. And so like, I feel like that like kind of like, oh, like where is she thing is just kind of like moot, I guess.
You could
I
have
don't know.
made it a
And
little vaguer.
yeah, like I don't know. I thought that part was kind of like weird, but yeah, the R2 memory thing would have been really really. I agree.
So all of that wraps up, and like you said, Rey's kind of missing. So everyone kind of goes their ways, and what it seems like is it's like a time skip. It has to be just to justify it, but we see Poe and Chewie get like a signature. It's like, oh, she's here, she's here. And then we get this like in the concept art. It's actually a really good shot of Rey silhouette in BB-8's lens, which is just like that's gorgeous. If we can get it up real quick, it's one of the last ones. There, it's Rey shot in BB-8's eye because BB-8 is with Finn and Rose, who have gathered a bunch of young Jedi children and have young Force sensitives and have given them like a chance to like live peacefully. And I think it's sort of implied in this film that Rose and Finn have a thing, which again is
Yeah,
carried over from Last Jedi, but it's not. If they had to do Rey and Poe, I would have much preferred if they took this approach where it's just you can run into
you
it if you want it to be, but it's
yeah,
not
like you can
mentioned.
read into it if that's what you're into,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
like it's not like you can't like you could also read the script and be like, I don't think they're like a couple thing.
Exactly
I
right.
think that they're just really good friends, which is like a totally valid read of the script. That's the way that you should approach that. Like, but yeah,
What do you think about the fact that And then Rey comes and joins the training camp with the idea that she's going to be training in this next idea of Jedi, who will all be super angry. I can't see that going wrong. What do you think? Aside from my British sass, what do you think about that idea of the final shot of this film being like Rey is going to be training the next Jedi, rather than what we
So
got?
I think conceptually the idea of Rey training the like next generation of Jedi obviously like makes sense. Um, it but at the same time, like one, you've brought up the very good points about how like she's not just gonna be training them to be like okay with being angry, which like as we've discussed at length is not necessarily the best route to take with them. But then also I feel like this like I just can't help, especially like looking at the concept art for it, like this is just Luke's
Yes.
like training temple with the Jedi, and like we literally like saw how that went, and like from this version of Rey, like in the script, Luke was like an infinitely better Jedi than she is here,
Luke
and
at the
like
end of Return of the Jedi is like a saint compared
yeah,
to this Rey.
and like it went terribly for him, and so I'm like, well, this you're just like retreading the past that definitely didn't work at all. So I'm like, I don't know, I don't like this ending a whole lot. I love the ending in The Rise of Skywalker a lot, which I know like a lot of people don't, but like I love it. And so yeah, I don't really like this ending a whole lot. And then you also get which like he's here. Poe is here, right? Like in this,
Yeah, he's with Chewie
like
on the Falcon.
yeah. And so like then you also get the like, which I mean like of course Star Wars is going to be like a happily ever after like at the end because Star Wars ultimately is also for kids. So like of course it's going to have like a happy ending, but like I don't like Rey and Poe in this, and so like this ends and like obviously they're going to be like a thing like going forward, and so like in my head I'm like oh I don't really like that a whole lot. Um, yeah, just the whole ending, like I don't know. Like I said, conceptually, her training the next generation of Jedi is good. Execution wise, in context with everything that's happened here, not a huge fan of
Yeah.
this.
For me
I,
personally, what I like about this is like the final shot, and I'll get up the art just specifically. Yeah, here it is, and like you mentioned, it is almost 1-to-1. Luke's training her. Um,
yeah,
Even a little bit of smoke of fire coming from it, which might be the next Ben Solo burning it down.
yeah,
But like, what I like about it is for the final shot of the film, it's just a very silly thing, but it's what always struck out for me, and what does make me not like the final shot, like just the shot. I don't mind going back to Tatooine. I just don't like the ending shot being the twin sons, because in the last movie we had the twin sons moment of the trilogy with Luke. It just feels a little bit like we're doing it again in the next film with Rey. We already had that
yeah,
shot. And like I watch a lot of like Star Wars tribute videos where it will show up the Revenge of the Sith one, the A New Hope one, and then the Last Jedi one, and that's cool because it's like the rule of three and it fits. And then Rise of Skywalker had another one. I'm just like, oh come on, man! It's
it
just
just breaks it.
it's cool when it's one a trilogy, right? Like that's just
Yeah,
how I like that. So I like the idea that how I would have done it probably. She goes to Tatooine to bury the lightsabers, and then the final shot of it is she goes the flies down to this new planet because I actually do like the look of the planet where it's like grassy and everything, and I think Rey being near greenery is a good end for her. She goes down there and maybe it's just Finn and Rose rather than in Rise of Skywalker you can have Finn, Rose, and Poe like her new family. She goes down there and it's just her in that with a new family that she's built, and that's the end. And it's like
yeah,
greenery shot. You're not in the desert anymore. I think that would have been cooler, just to avoid repeating Twin Sons twice. That's my only gripe with that thing. It's such a petty
just
shit, but it just bugs me. Um,
yeah.
when we've got like, I would prefer it if the Rise of Skywalker just ended on Rey's face rather than showing the Twin Sons,
I
just
honestly
because it would
think
have been
like it would have been cool
different.
to end on the lightsaber ignition.
That would have been great. But we've got that sorted out, and like you said, right? It's just I like the Rise of Skywalker ending because it's vague. Rey's journey is entirely up to you. I hope we get nothing after this forever.
Oh, dude, please, dear God, no. They need to go so far in the past with the next movies.
Please, but just like in the comics and everything, just this is the end of Star Wars. the possibility of something new. Because if you imagine something new, you don't have to ask all these stupid questions that we've been asking about the practicality of the balance and the Jedi and all of that. If you just say,
Yeah.
we don't know what Rey's going to do next. Will she train people? What will she do? We don't know because we'll never find
Yeah.
out. But that's the
Doesn't
beauty.
matter.
Yeah, that's for Rey to know. And us, we've been on this journey. Our saga's close. We've been buried with the lightsabers, right? I think that's a beautiful concept. It's Excalibur being returned back to the lake. When we've got freaking, like, if you look at like Anakin is our POV character through all 9 films, we've been Anakin because his saber's still been there, and now that his saber's gone, we've gone back with Anakin back to Tatooine's dust. All of that's great. Whereas with this, you get the direct reminder of fuck, especially because this Ben does turned out so bad, and it's just like, come on, guys.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. It doesn't sit well with me, like
No, no,
this
no.
ending. This film, that's just something that like it just does a lot of things that like are a complete 180 to what the film feels like it's trying to do, and then a completely 180 to like what the film feels like it's trying to do, and then also like what the characters were doing like previously to this film as well in some
I think
regards.
that's a really good point. Is that this film, because a lot of people have been mentioning, and you mentioned in this rightly so, that there's a lot of callbacks, more callbacks in this film to the prequels, the original trilogy, and the EU. And that's all great. But Rise of Skywalker, without having so many callbacks, feels more thematically in line with what those stories were trying to say. It feels more of the continuation, whereas this feels like, to me at least, because you're callbacking so much to those other things, it's making me realize you watched those things but didn't get what they were trying to say.
Yeah, yeah, it's just so
Like, if you call back to the Old Republic, but then you're gonna have a Sith that's been around before Darth Bane, you didn't fucking get the Old Republic.
yeah, yeah, pretty much. There's just a lot of like, there's a lot of cool. They're like kind of good concepts, but then just not executed exact like just well or like as good as they should be. So yeah, I
I
don't know.
guess just final thoughts then, because we've gone through the fucking journey right now, brother.
Final thoughts. So one thing which like I just have to like kind of it's not even directly related to like this version, but like I probably the main reason that I'll never be able to say that like I would have preferred this over the Rise of Skywalker, even though I've obviously gone through a myriad of problems that I had with this movie, is that like probably my favorite thing in Star Wars lore now is the dyad connection between Rey and Kylo, which like this film, this script, like barely touches on a little bit. Like they can still like feel each other and like sense each other, but like the level that the Rise of Skywalker takes it, as far as them literally like being able to like fight through the forest, is just one of the fucking coolest things I've ever seen. And so
Mm-hmm.
like that I love a lot. But yeah, like this script is so there's so many things that I'm like that I said at like the beginning. There's so many things that I really love about it, things where I'm just like, no, don't agree, don't think that should be there, and like this is just a very like it's just either a gross like mischaracterization or just like completely contradictory to what the script and the previous films were like setting up and trying to do, and so it's just a very weird like mixed bag. Um, but yeah, it's the more that we've talked about it because we like talked about it at the beginning, where I was like, I'd be really curious to see like or to know exactly why Kathleen Kennedy and like Disney were like no, or like Lucasfilm were like no, and kind of like parted with creative differences, like talking about it at like such lengths. I definitely feel like we've gotten some pretty good guesses as to why they were like
Yeah.
no,
There's a
we
lot of
don't want
stuff in this that's not
to.
just like, oh, change the scene. A lot of it is like fundamental to the take.
Yeah, like it's just like it's a you would have to make it a different movie, which is what they did. Like
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, I definitely I understand now like why they were like, no, we're not gonna go with this one. And like, did they make the right call? Honestly, as controversial as the Rise of Skywalker is, I would probably say I would err yes. Like I think that they like of the two, I think that they probably made the right call in
I
making
would
like the
wholeheartedly agree, not just on a writing front, but I just think even if this script was polished up a little bit, I don't think Trevorrow is the director to pull it off. I don't think
Yeah.
the concept art in this. I don't think he could do the shots. If you look at how like Jurassic World looks, it's not.
That's a really good point.
It's not this. It's the concept
Yeah.
art was beautiful, but it would just get dulled out and grayed. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
JJ
a really good point.
fucking could pull it off.
Yeah, so I think they made the right call. I'm glad that we got the Rise of Skywalker.
So
It would
am
be
I.
cool to see this also,
Throw it
but
in animated form or something. Do it in the Galaxy's Forces style, or do it in like a comic or something. Right? You've got the story, or at
yeah,
least do what the good thing Star Wars always does. Is you've got all this gorgeous concept art and this design for an old Sith. Fucking throw him in one of the older films. Make him he's a cool design. And you can have
yeah,
an old, ancient, alien-looking Sith that knows Force Drain in a movie. Just don't put him in the ninth episode film. Put him in one of the Old Republic films. So there's concepts in this which I'm glad have been made public because I feel like that will incentivize people. I think a lot of this was intentional. A lot of this would be like, okay, we're going to look at what people are responding to, and then those ideas will get made into something else. Like The Force Awakens had so much concept art that's been reused. Thankfully, like Vader's castle came from that, right? Like
yeah.
all of this shit has made to great ideas. So I think that's what this will be. And again, I just want to say thank you to the fucking boffin spies that have managed to let us read this, because this has been not only a fantastic discussion, but just so interesting to be able to get this close to the production of Star Wars.
Yeah. It's crazy. Like whenever you sent me the link and you were like, "Oh shit, you actually it's the script." Like it's
You were
very
messaging
exciting.
me. You were just like, if you ever get your hands on the script, you're doing a live stream. I don't think you'd be really serious about it. So I made sure I got my hands on the script and we're doing all.
Yeah. Yeah, I sent that like gif of the fucking cat just going like ham on the keyboard and I was like, "This is you searching. You got it. You found it." So, yeah, very exciting.
Well, with all of
Uh,
that said and done, thank you for joining me on this, bud. Where can people find you?
you can find me on Twitter at APBatman with two T's. That's my personal / like main Twitter where I just tweet about whatever. And then you can also find me on Twitter at Batman Files. It's my Batman fan account where I post mainly about Batman stuff. So if you need some more Batman in your life, be sure to follow that one. Those are the two main things. You can find all my other links like from those. So
And all of
I'll,
those
I'll
will
ref-
be in the description, because boy howdy does he have a large resume. He's a
yeah.
very prestigious guest we've got on this one, and one I hope will come back to the channel sometime soon if we've got another idea for this. But this was just a ton of fun. Thank you.
Oh yeah, thank you for having me. Had a great time talking. It was very fun.
As always, then, folks, we hope you enjoy. Take it easy.
Later.